everyone. Good morning, everyone. This is the public hearing and public meeting of the Committee of the Whole regarding bills numbers 250195, 250196, 250197, 250198, 250199, 250200, 250201, 250202, 250210, 250211, 250212, and resolution number 250214. Ms. Lawhead, would you please call the roll to take attendance?
Councilmember Squilla. Councilmember Gautier. Councilmember Jones. Councilmember Young. Councilmember Driscoll. Councilmember Lozada. Councilmember Bass. Councilmember Phillips. Councilmember O'Neill. Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Harity. Councilmember Ahmad. Councilmember Landau. Councilmember Brooks. Councilmember O'Rourke. Council President Johnson.
Present. Thank you. A quorum of the committee is present, and this hearing is now called to order. Ms. Lawhead, would you please read the title of the resolutions?
Bill number 250195, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Wage and Net Profits Tax by revising certain tax rates under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250196, an ordinance adopting the operating budget for fiscal year 2026. Bill number 250197, an ordinance to adopt a fiscal 2026 capital budget. Bill number 250198, an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2026 through 2031 inclusive. Bill number 250199, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-2600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Business Income and Receipts Taxes to revise tax rates and end certain exclusions from the tax on receipts, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250200, an ordinance amending Chapter 12-1000, the Philadelphia Code entitled Traffic Code to revise the fee for the use of parking meters, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250201, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1800 of the Philadelphia Code entitled School Tax Authorization to provide for an increase in the tax that the Board of Education of the School District of Philadelphia is authorized to impose on real estate, and amending Chapter 19-1300 entitled Real Estate Taxes to establish an equivalent reduction in the tax rate for the city real estate tax, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250202, an ordinance amending Section 19-1806 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Authorization of Realty Use and Occupancy Tax to eliminate certain exemptions, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250210, an ordinance amending Section 10-1001 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Fees of Commissioner of Records to increase the portion of fees for the recording of deeds and mortgages and relating documents to be used for housing trust fund purposes under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250211, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-1400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Realty Transfer Tax by revising the rate of the tax, all under certain terms and conditions. Bill number 250212, an ordinance to amend Chapter 19-4400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Development Impact Tax to end the imposition of the tax under certain terms and conditions. Resolution number 250214, resolution providing for the approval by the Council of the City of Philadelphia of a revised 5-year financial plan for the City of Philadelphia covering fiscal years 2026 through 2030 and incorporating revisions with respect to fiscal year 2025, which is to be submitted by the mayor to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority pursuant to an intergovernmental cooperation agreement by and between the city and the authority.
Thank you very much. Today we continue the public hearing of the Committee of the Whole to consider the bills read by the clerk that constitute proposed operating capital spending measures for fiscal year 2026, a capital program and forward-looking capital plan for fiscal year 2026 through fiscal year 2031. We have scheduled testimony from the Department of Planning and Development as well as the Department of Commerce. This afternoon, we have scheduled testimony from the Department of Public Property and the Department of Fleet Services. Before we call the first panel for testimony, I want to acknowledge the presence of Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young, Councilmember Dr. Nina Ahmad, Councilmember Nicholas O'Rourke, and Councilmember Kendra Brooks. Will Ms. Lawhead, you please call the first panel?
Alba Martinez, Director of the Department of Commerce.
Good morning, President Johnson and members of council. My name is Alba Martinez, and I am the city's Director of Commerce. I'm here this morning, joined by members of our leadership team, to provide testimony on the Commerce Department's fiscal year 2026 operating budget. The Commerce Department exists to grow a competitive economy that delivers opportunity to every neighborhood and every Philadelphian. Under Mayor Parker's leadership, we are focused, organized, and in motion. We are implementing a strategy we call Grow Philly to make it easier and more attractive to start, operate, and grow a business in Philadelphia, with investments that improve our services to businesses, expand access to education, support, and capital, boost commercial corridor economic activity, and promote our city as a great place to do business. A few of our fiscal year 2025 highlights include the following. Commerce expanded and redesigned the Mayor's Business Action Team to enhance customer service and make government more business-friendly, as mandated by the Mayor's Open for Business Executive Order. Our business service managers have helped over 5,000 businesses this year. 400 of those cases were handled by our new MBAT navigators, who specialize in resolving complex issues businesses face with the city. MBAT also launched Coffee and Commerce, which will be delivered in every council district on an ongoing basis. We are expanding online tools for businesses like the Permit Navigator, and next month we will launch the Philly Biz Hub, a new website designed for small businesses to provide streamlined 24/7 access to permits, licensing, education, and access to capital resources. Our incentive grant through the Philadelphia Business Lending Network has helped over 100 businesses secure loans from 30 lending partners. 70% were first-time borrowers. We invested $500,000 in emergency funding, including $264,000 for 25 businesses impacted by the Northeast plane crash. The Commercial Real Estate Acquisition Loan Program helped 4 entrepreneurs purchase properties like Perfect Place Real Estate on 52nd Street and Next Level Barbershop on Germantown Avenue. We expanded our Neighborhood Economic Development Grant Program to support projects like a Weaver's Way Co-op at Shelton and Morris and the Olney Community Collaborative's New Home and Future Retail Incubator. The Quality Jobs Program provided $1.4 million in grants to 26 businesses that created 288 quality jobs, full-time roles with living wages and benefits, like those created by Attentive Care Service in the 4th District. In February, we announced a $5 million Small Business Catalyst Fund to provide capital and support to businesses ready to grow, particularly those facing systemic barriers. The catalyst includes dedicated funding for life sciences, manufacturing, the nighttime and creative economies, and for businesses purchasing a commercial corridor property. The catalyst will also pilot our new single application process, an essential step towards simplifying access to support. The Catalyst Expression of Interest form launches this week. To continue strengthening neighborhood commercial corridors, we expanded the Taking Care of Business program from $10 million to $24 million, growing cleaning areas, vacant lot maintenance, and tree planting across the city. TCB employs now 324 cleaning ambassadors across 39 nonprofits and Black-owned businesses. We'll soon expand to 52 partner organizations employing over 400 ambassadors. Just yesterday, applications closed for $500,000 in corridor enhancement grants to support nonprofits leading creative projects that foster safety, vibrancy, and foot traffic. We continue to invest in streetscape projects like Broad, Germantown, and Erie. We also developed an investment strategy to beautify and activate corridors for 2026, including Point Breeze and Ridge Avenue. We implemented our $1 million Kensington Corridor investment to clean and beautify commercial areas, complementing broader city stabilization efforts. Our business development team continues to attract new employers, retain key firms, and support the expansion of local businesses. For example, DeVal Life Cycle Support, a Department of Defense manufacturer in the 10th District, is expanding operations. Famous 4th Street Cookies is growing to reach international markets. FS Investments is expanding and remaining in Philadelphia. To expand and build on these efforts, we've launched a new Philly business brand marketing initiative to promote Philadelphia both domestically and internationally as a premier destination for business investment. Bottom line, We're making it easier for businesses to start, stay, and grow right here in Philadelphia by building a city where every entrepreneur can access the capital, support, and opportunity they need to succeed. Setting aside the $15 million for the convention center, the proposed fiscal year 2026 general fund budget totals $94,978,715, an increase of $44,396,900 over fiscal year 2025 estimated obligation levels. This increase supports targeted investments that advance our strategy to grow an inclusive and competitive economy, including $29 million for the Jumpstart Small Business Initiative to expand capital, education, and business services, $4.5 million to expand taking care of business and clean more commercial areas, continued investment in PHL Open for Business to reduce cost and complexity for business services, funding for an incentive study and Market East analysis, support for projects that beautify, brand, and enhance destination corridors ahead of 2026. Finally, the important work of our Workforce Solutions team will continue within the Chief Administrative Office in close partnership with Commerce to support employers and deliver on key initiatives. The Department of Commerce looks forward to continue working with all members of Council to drive inclusive economic opportunity across Philadelphia. Philly is open for business. Thank you, and we welcome your questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Martinez. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for your service, no matter how brief it was. We know that you have been an outstanding public servant to the city of Philadelphia, and I thought that's why it was prudent for the mayor to bring you into her administration. So thank you for setting the tone for the Department of Commerce. And so I just want to personally just thank you for your service, and I wish you the best in your next endeavors.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to serve.
I have a couple questions before I turn it over to my members. And so part of the budget process, we are considering removing the exemption for the first $100,000 in receipts for the business income and receipts tax, which is BERT, and the use of occupancy tax due to the legal constraints that we're dealing with right now. And so for me, we're budgeting $150 million over the next 5 years, which is $30 million a year. And we know that this is going to be a significant change in terms of how small businesses operate here in the city of Philadelphia in the event that we move forward. And so I'm concerned about the amount, and so give me an idea about your perspective in terms of how much we are investing, because 150 million over 5 years, we want to make sure is more than enough to support those small businesses. But also, most importantly, what are we doing to staff up to be prepared? And most critically, right now, with you making the transition, who's the number two that's going to make sure that in the event that this proposal does pass and members of the council do say we're on board and supporting the exemption, we want to be reassured, especially with this transition going on. You being at the helm and then someone else is coming in, have to pick up and keep running. So who's the number two that we should be talking to today to make sure small businesses are supported in the event that we move forward and take away this exemption?
So
based upon legal constraints for the record.
So thank you. I believe it's a two-part question. One is, how do we feel about the investment and the size of the investment?
And how did y'all come up with the number?
In response to the BERT, change, right, and the impact on businesses, and then continuity in the department. So I'll start by saying that the $30 million, just to round up, in the Jumpstart program is an unprecedented investment by our city, by council and the mayor, in well-being and the growth of businesses. Every single investment in that Jumpstart program is tied to a program that is high functioning within the department, has proven to be successful with businesses, and in the case of the Catalyst, is a very innovative program where we are testing a new way of doing business and accelerating growth for our businesses. So I do believe that $30 million is a large amount of money to absorb within the department. And what we want to do is be able to execute on that quickly. So I'll speak about two things. First of all, the choices about what those investments are were thoughtfully developed by the Commerce team based on programs that work, number one. Number two, the education component of the business community is just as important. And so we're going to have an equally passionate investment in a comprehensive education and marketing strategy. And this really applies to any program that we talk about today, from outreach, right, which is different than marketing, and now we have a marketing capability that we did not have before. We now have an email, which I guess is called direct marketing, an email that goes to over 20,000 businesses, and when we sent a notice about the catalyst, 40% opened that email. So we did not have that before, right? So we have new communication channels, we have an outreach function, we have marketing investments, and we intend to continue to hit the street, if you will, at multiple levels. So I'll leave that answer there. In terms of continuity, I will say that I am really going to miss Commerce because of the caliber of the people who work there. I am really gonna miss Commerce, and Commerce will not miss a beat. We have a strategy, it's called Grow Philly, it is written down. We have a portfolio where we can identify every spend we have, who's in charge of it, how much money it is, and the outcomes on it. And if any of those three things are missing, we would redeploy that investment. So I would say that your point of contact would be Heloise Jettison as our chief of staff. And from a budgetary standpoint, Frank Nasir, our finance director, but every single leader in the department is here to serve. There is no wrong door.
My other part of the question is, how do we track the small businesses that need to be targeted, that would really have to take advantage of this 30 million? Because they're the ones who are used to not having to file any paperwork, right? So is there any way for us to track and go after those individuals who need this extra type of support as opposed to sending out a blind email of 20 or 30,000 individuals?
I just asked Yvonne if she wants to take it, and she said, no, you do it. I'm like, thanks a lot. I'm just joking.
Come on, Vaughn.
No, seriously. So I believe that, first of all, with revenue, we're working with the revenue department together on a strategy here, because when businesses win and grow, we win, right? And we recognize that this could be seen as, cutting against the grain of open for business, right? We understand that we are facing a reputational challenge and some confusion. So this is going to be an education effort with revenue.
It's going to be a sticker shock for some people.
For some people,
For those small businesses that have never had to file, right, and normally they know that first $100,000 is forgiven.
That's correct.
Now they have a bill, and so
that's correct.
They have to do their due diligence. We have to do our due diligence to make sure they take advantage of the 150 million over the 5 years. And so that's
correct.
members' concern in terms of how we get the money directly into the hands of those individuals.
So here's the plan. First of all, there's coordination with revenue. Second of all, there's an outreach and marketing phase that begins immediately that, I'll be involved in, the mayor will be, we will all be involved in educating the business community around this. And then third of all, we will have lots of opportunities for businesses to self-identify and tell us, hey, we want information, we want help, and we will 100% all the time respond to that. And so, I can provide more detail, but for example, our business hub that comes out next week, we are going to have any relevant information that a business person needs right there on that web. Plus, MBAT is a phone call away for any business in Philadelphia. As I mentioned, they've served 5,000 businesses this year, and with Jumpstart, we're expanding that staff so that they can serve almost double the amount of businesses in our city. No one should feel lost or confused and not have a person to call, either directly at Commerce or one of our partners. No one.
Okay, awesome. All right, I am going to turn over to members. I also want to acknowledge also the presence of Councilmember Curtis Jones, Jr. And obviously, when we do the marketing plan and get the word out, we would do it on diverse platforms, making sure information is provided in all different diverse languages for the demographics that represents the city of Philadelphia, because again, small businesses expands across all different diverse spectrums and demographics of people. And we just want to make sure everybody take advantage of any event that we move forward with this proposal, that the individuals most impacted will take advantage of it.
Thank you.
So, okay. That being said, the chair recognizes Councilmember Dr. Anthony Phillips, and I just want to state that if individuals could be direct with their questions, you can be direct with your responses, so we can get 2 rounds in as we move forward in this process. With that being said, Councilmember Dr. Anthony Phillips.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to briefly say, Alba, we wishing you much success, and thank you for the contributions you made to our 9th District. I also want to thank Salim Wilson and all the others who have done a lot of great work in our district. He's been a really good person working with us. Thank you. So one of the questions I have is about the April 14th deadline. Recently, there was a commercial corridor grant that was extended to neighborhoods. The deadline was April 14th. I did receive a lot of calls and neighbor emails about this grant. However, a lot of them were kind of nervous about applying, right? What can Commerce do in the future for some of these grants for commercial corridors that are really helpful to our businesses, not just for the grant that we just did yesterday, but for all of the grants to come into neighborhoods and maybe do, workshops or something to help people feel more at ease with like visioning what they can do with a grant of that sort. Maybe past examples, because oftentimes people in more...
Dr. Phillips, could you ask the question?
Oh yeah, so that's it. He did say that, and I did it anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's an excellent question. We all win when more individuals and organizations apply and compete for the funding. So I'm going to ask Deputy Director Boyd to help answer what we are doing and what more we can do.
Thank you.
Good morning. Yvonne Boyd, Deputy Commerce Director. I lead the Office of Neighborhood Economic Development. That's a really great question. We actually had 140 applications for $500,000. So yes, it's an investment that community groups really look forward to. First and foremost, we do have a briefing where we invite everybody who's interested in applying to attend this briefing so that we explain the expectations. And the application, I think, is the shortest application that we have in the Commerce Department. It is a single page. It's who you are, what you're going to do, and what you're going to use the money for. But your point is well taken. We have commercial corridor managers that we can actually give this information to assist any organization in those areas, to assist them in applying. Again, Albert talked about the marketing that we are beginning to ramp up. We've never really done that kind of outreach, and it's something that we're looking to, and we can include that so that people know where to go. And the Biz Hub, we should have one place where anybody can go to connect with someone to help them, and it's coming up. Thank you.
I took up too much of my time, but I just want to say thanks, and hopefully the commercial corridor managers can go out and proactively let every association know about it. I'm not sure they do that already, but it's something to do.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything additional, Dr. Phillips?
Question, and it was about the 9th, just in general, that we know that there are commercial corridors that are impacted by basically they need an uplift, they need an anchor business, right? How are you helping each district get an anchor business so we could turn it from the traditional, mom and pop stores to something a lot more sustainable? How are we doing work for that?
So the activation of corridor economic activity is one of the core strategies for the Commerce Department Grow Philly plan. So it's a multifaceted approach. One of the new things we're doing, which I'm excited about, and we're all excited about, is that the Catalyst Fund offers amount of funds, I believe it's $1 million right now, for businesses that want to buy and occupy a property in a corridor. right? So we are going to help them. We're going to provide them some funding, substantial, at least 50,000. It might even be more. We're still working out the details, but we have to invest and incentivize people to want to be in the corridors, and that Catalyst Fund is going to do that. And because that fund is really looking for businesses ready to grow, there's going to be a high vetting of those businesses to make sure that they're growth ready. Councilman, because what that will do is will increase the chance of success for that business to become an anchor.
Thank
So that's
you.
one example of the things we're doing. And we are looking at other programs where we could further incentivize the elimination of vacancy in important corridors. Plus, for 2026, we're going to put millions of dollars into a number of targeted corridors to boost their attractiveness. And last but not least, we are investing in a tool like Placer AI. It may not be Placer AI, but a tool like that, we have not had it before, where we can actually measure the impact of our investments in a corridor, because that allows us to measure foot traffic. So we are about to invest in that, and we will be able to share that data with every corridor in the city so that they don't each have to buy it themselves, because it's cost prohibitive.
Thank you for that response. 15 seconds, I just want to say, my only suggestion is that if you all can help identify those businesses for us and make a strategic plan to bring them to our corridors and present it as a possibility to be an anchor business that could change a lot of our
Thank you, sir.
avenues. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Councilman Jamie Gaultier.
Thank you,
Direct
Council
question.
President.
Direct question.
Got you. Good morning, Director Martinez. Thank you for all your service to the city. It's been good working with you. Last September, Lancaster Avenue saw a mass shooting in front of a local business, Oxygen Deli, a business we've had many other issues with over time. Since then, our office has been partnering with the local police department, commerce department, the Office of Clean and Green, LA 21, and many other nonprofits and agencies to improve the environment of the Lancaster Avenue business corridor. I want to give a special shout out to the Commerce Department team, Michelle Price and Shan Ma, for attending several after-hours meetings, getting us cameras for the business corridor, and so much more. Your partnership is making a notable difference for that area. My questions. Looking ahead, can you speak to Commerce's plans for the Lancaster business corridor? What additional resources can you invest to make improvements along the corridor? For example, is it possible to do a set of storefront improvements focused on the 4000 and 4100 blocks of Lancaster Avenue? Or could we see a greater investment in LA 21, which manages the corridor and supports local businesses? We're trying to invest in a way that can drive away some of the significant violence that we've seen.
Thank you for the question. I will invite Deputy Director Boyd to answer momentarily, but what I do want to say is that, my experience with LA 21 is that it's an extraordinarily valuable partner, and we are grateful for their support. And anything that Commerce can do to support a partner that's already pulling an enormous amount of weight in a community that needs so much, we will go out of our way to support them, not just them, but any other organization like them in the city. So, Yvonne, I'll turn it over to you.
I think Alba really answered your questions, which is yes and yes.
Okay. That was easy.
Thanks, Yvonne.
We look forward to working with you on that targeted strategy. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, Council President.
We good, Member Gaultier?
Oh, I have one more question, actually.
Quick.
Thank you. Staying on the subject of business support organizations, our office has been working with the Enterprise Center to help them create and implement a plan for Enterprise Heights. This is a large set of parcels that they own at 46th and Market, and they've been trying to come up with a strategy for it for some time. Are there resources that the Commerce Department can offer to support the Enterprise Centers and our office's efforts? And just to give you just a little more context, Enterprise Heights is directly across the street from the West Park renovation that will bring 1,000 units to the area. It's near to where we're building the forensics lab. So it's a prime opportunity to develop this land in a way that's good for the community.
It's an incredibly important area, and I'm not going to give an opportunity to Yvonne to just say yes and yes. Yvonne?
Enterprise Heights makes me remember how long I've been working with the city. And so the Commerce Department already invested when it started. So we are not going to leave it in the middle of the road, right? We're going to work closely with the Enterprise Center to make sure that they are able to fulfill the dream and they're able to provide the community with what it needs. So yes, we are all in. Thank you.
My office looks forward to working with you on that, and I'm sure the Enterprise Center will be very excited. Thank you so much. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Council President. And thank you very much, Alba, for your service in the Commerce Department and just also your overall service with city government. I wanted to, zero in on workforce development. If you all could just talk about the workforce development solutions grant programs, how many grants have been given out thus far this year, to which organizations, and I'll start there. And I will say, and I want to say this for the record, that I just received, like literally as we've been sitting here, the follow-up memo regarding my concern around the Office of Workforce Development under Commerce, the unit, I should say, under Commerce. And I wanted to thank the administration for the ongoing conversations that we've been having over the last week regarding that matter. I am not fully prepared to speak to that because I literally just got the memo after I sat down in my chair. So what I want to focus on, one is, be thankful for the continued commitment around workforce development. But two, talk about the specific work that you all have been undertaking around workforce development this year.
Thank you very much. The Workforce Solutions Division within Commerce has been critical to being able to meet the needs and expectations of employers and to be competitive in the business development space, right? Because one of the questions that businesses always have is, how's the talent? Am I going to be able to find the talent? So that is an absolutely critical function for us. I want to address the issue briefly of the movement of workforce solutions, because my understanding of it is that it's fundamentally aimed at maximizing impact for all of us. And so therefore, it is something that will only positively affect the Commerce Department, because it is important to underscore that all of the support that the Workforce Solutions Unit provides right now in partnership with Commerce, because it's always done in partnership with Don Somerville and BizDev, is going to continue. But the reality is that the city is not being as efficient as it could be.
I heard the bell. I'm so sorry. I heard the bell, and I got to get this in there. And I agree with you. I want to underscore that you know that we agree on the end goal, right?
Yes,
the end
okay.
goal is what we all agree on. The challenge I think that I was initially having was that we just did a charter change in 2023.
Understood.
And it really felt as if that charter change was not being taken into consideration, after it had been voted on by the voters, and we've, sort of had a process in place. My question is, based on this proposal, what is changing from a staffing perspective?
Okay.
Because I need this for the record.
Sure.
If you could walk through really quickly of this is who's under Commerce now, this is who's under Workforce Solutions or under the Workforce Development Unit, this is who will move, and even if it's just position or name, because we're familiar with everybody. Heloise, who we do nothing without, Gianna, Karen, Yvonne, Dawn, Frank, everybody at Commerce, Celine, everyone. We appreciate each and every one of them, particularly that Workforce Development Unit, because when the previous administration eliminated that department, we had nothing, and they had to stand that unit up from the ground. And so I deeply appreciate and I'm grateful for the work that they have done over these last several years. But I need to hear on the record what's going to change. Right now, it's X, Y, and Z positions under Commerce, and now this is what will go under CAO, and this is the Class 100 impact.
And we appreciate your leadership in this space, to be very, very clear. While I invite my colleague Camille Duchasset to come up and help me answer that question, I will speak to you as a stakeholder, as a partner, and as a customer. We can't do our work without a workforce solutions partnership, and so from my perspective, nothing will change in relation to what Commerce needs to get the work done. So I will turn this over to Camille.
Good morning. My name is Camille Duchasset. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer. Thank you, Majority Leader, for the question. And we appreciate it because we feel similarly to you that the work of the Workforce Solutions Unit is substantial and it's necessary for us to meet our goals as a city. In direct answer to your question, nothing is changing other than the leadership structure to ensure that we have continued synergy between the work of OWD and the work of CCME and workforce planning. So
help me-
specifically,
Yeah, walk me through, and you understand what the question is. Walk
Yes.
me through what that means.
Right.
So would it be that everyone who's already in workforce will stay put, but that the leadership reporting structure is changing?
Correct.
Like, meaning, walk me through if there's any Class 100 movement, from CAO to like, walk me through that whole
right, so
process.
currently there are 3 positions that are filled within Commerce in Class 100.
Okay.
The leadership of that unit is under Gianna Grossman. Those 3
Okay.
positions are very specifically moving into the CAO Class 100. There were 2 vacant positions within Commerce. Those 2 vacant positions have also moved within OWD, are also being moved to CAO.
Okay.
And then within CAO, we have increased our position allocation by 2 additional staff to support, again, both the internal and external work of these 2 units.
Okay, and if you all could just prepare that for us in writing and for the
Absolutely.
president and then for dissemination to members. And like I said, I'm not, going to pretend that I am prepared to adequately speak to this issue because I have not had a chance
Sure.
to fully read the memo and digest the information
course.
that's shared, to double back and read back the provisions of the charter that have been referenced in this memo. And I don't want to speak out of turn because I just received this information. So if you could give that information to the president, I'll review that along with the memo, do the follow-up meetings with the administration, and we'll go from there.
We look
Okay?
forward to having that conversation with you,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, thank you very, very
Thank you,
much.
Camille.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from the Great Northeast, Councilmember Jim Harity.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you for your service, just to get it out of the way so I can stick to the timeline. I, like the Council President, I have concerns about the taking of the 100,000 away. Commerce indicates that 30 million will be allocated to help out small businesses now affected by the change to the bird exemption. How many businesses will this affect, for one? Because so many of these smaller mom and pop shops, I still remember COVID, and I remember that in my neighborhood, if it wasn't for the Dominican grocers and the Asian takeout stores, we would have been in some bad shape. So very concerned about that going away because I understand that that's important to businesses. And the other thing is the grants that are going to be there. I toured in Councilman Jones's district, the Container Village. That is an unbelievably fantastic idea. I mean, what a way to get small businesses started. And I understand that a few have already jumped into actual storefronts after being in there to get started. So what are we doing to spur programs like that? Because we have vacant lots all over the city that could be turned into these little villages. I mean, I don't know if you've been over there, but it's really something. They actually even had a place to pray during Ramadan. They have a stage, they have a TV screen to do stuff, and they got stuff going on, videos and little commercials for the businesses. It's really great. So I just want to make sure that the businesses like that will also be able to apply for these grants, as well as how many businesses are going to be affected, and is this 30 million a year going to be enough?
Yeah. Councilman, I'm going to very quickly turn this over to Yvonne, but what I will say is that Again, that 30 million is an unprecedented opportunity and investment. We take it very, very seriously. And it is just as important to put quality programs, whether they're education, service, technical assistance, quality programs that actually work for businesses, along with capital programs. It's important to put those into the marketplace along with a really robust marketing and outreach strategy that truly creates transparency for businesses in Philadelphia. Because I do believe we can do better to make sure that every business in every corner of Philadelphia has a chance to compete. If you don't have the chance to compete, that's not inclusion. So, Yvonne, why don't you talk about the
I'm just
concrete
trying to
numbers?
get to the bottom of if this 30 million is going to add up. How many businesses, it's just simple numbers.
We'll
How
talk
many
about that.
businesses are going to lose this 100 million
Let's do it.
deduction, and how many businesses are we going to be able to help? Because I just don't see it adding up.
Yeah, so that is a good question, and it is unfortunate that it has come to this. But I think we have about 75,000 businesses who previously did not have to file for the BERT, who now will have to file.
How many? For the record?
75,000.
75,000?
Yes, 75,000. Some of those are real estate
Little math there.
businesses. So we have about 56,000, right, who are not real estate businesses, who will now begin to file BERTs that did not have to do that before. And based on the programs that we've decided to deploy the $30 million in, we will serve about 11,000, a little more than 11,000 businesses in the first year. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to do a little math here, and, we got 70, I'm good. For the sake of time, I'll,
Point of information, Councilmember Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you so much, Council President. To follow up on Councilmember Harity's question, I know I asked previously for a breakdown of the 75,000 businesses by council district. Is that something that you all could provide to us today?
Okay.
For our district colleagues particularly?
I don't believe we have that data today. However, I will make sure that we continue to work with the Revenue Department to provide as much detail as possible about where those businesses are and who they are.
We have a point of information for Councilmember Brooks.
So did you say, 11,000, what was that 11,000 number for? Is that the number of anticipated business that you'll be able to support out of the 56?
Yes, per year, right? So per year, based on the 30 million that we have, the
yeah, it's
programs that we're going to
75,
put in.
isn't it?
No, you said it was 75 business.
Yeah.
and
Yes,
then
75,000.
50
56,000 that were non-real estate.
Yes,
And then out of that, 11,000 are the number that we can give grants for?
per year, yes,
Yeah, 11,000 out of the 56,000 per year.
yes.
Okay. I just wanted to get
Yeah,
that number right.
that doesn't add up. I mean, quick little math.
Per year, first of all, yes, it doesn't add up in numbers.
But don't every business have to file taxes every year?
Absolutely.
Yes, but the average small business makes about $50,000, and that works out to about $300 of taxes that they have to pay. That is really what it is that they have to do.
Yeah,
And,
because 30 million would only be about $400 per business.
yeah, but we are not doing it on a one-to-one reimbursement. What we are doing we are putting it into programs that will help the businesses grow, provide capital to businesses that will also help them grow.
What happens to
And-
the rest of those businesses? So we lose them?
No, not at all. Remember,
Well,
first of all,
some of these
yes.
businesses are going to be in some bad trouble if they lose that 100,000, that first 100,000 write-off.
No, they're not losing 100,000. They are paying taxes of an average of $300. So that is what it is. What they are actually losing is an average of $300 based on the average of the BERT that the small businesses pay. So they are not losing 100,000, absolutely not.
Can I just?
Yes, go ahead.
So Councilman, the other thing I just want to clarify is that the 11,000 is direct service. Like, you know, the value of each of those services is more than $300. In some cases, much more, right? We're talking about grants, helping businesses purchase properties on the corridors, you know, tax assistance, helping them go into compliance. So it's like really top quality services. Many, many more businesses will be reached with education and awareness and support, you know, and MBAT services than those 11,000. I think that what we're saying is $30 million is going to enable us to provide really high quality, deep services to 11,000 businesses, which is, you know, frankly, a substantial number of businesses within the overall ecosystem. And that number will repeat every year. So every year it'll be a different 11,000. But in the meantime, we're educating the entire community and answering everybody's questions. So it's not like we're going to ignore everybody else. There will be no wrong door. And we will have to try to find ways to make it as easy as possible for people to file, right? That's work that we're just going to have to, you know, do. And we will do it.
Commissioner, just real quick question. So we have the confidence that y'all going to do an excellent job getting the word out.
Yes.
Excellent job getting the word out. Is there a concern that our system will be flooded with individuals coming, putting in requests for support, and that 30 million will be gone within the first month because we did an outstanding job getting the word out? And then that first 30 million, is that? Just wanted to ask that question.
Unfortunately, it's not as easy for businesses to take the time to apply for something as we want it to be in the future. So I don't think that literally we'll run out of, you know, resources in a month. However, if we build efficient systems, which we are looking to build, you know, it would be a good problem to have. You know, it's good and it's not good. If we are so effective at getting resources into the hands of businesses and be able to measure the impact of those, and we run out of money, we should be able to measure the impact that that has on job creation and wages, and then we should be able to come back, you know, and talk about what additional investment is required. But the reality is we need to make it as easy as possible for businesses to access the resources we have already, and that's the bar that we need to set for ourselves. Make it really easy and see how quickly actually we can get these resources into the hands of people. That would be a great thing.
Okay. Point of information, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize, Council President. I raised a question of the privilege of the House. What I'd like to ask is if you could break down the $30 billion and what it would go towards, because I think there's a misconception as a part of this conversation right now that the entire $30 million is being allocated to grants for businesses, and that is not the case based on the proposal that we initially received. So this is not a point of clarification. This is really a question for the privilege of the House. Okay. Thank you.
Did I hear that? Privilege of the House.
Yes.
It's that
Yes,
institutional knowledge there.
10 million of the 30 million is going to go to the tax prep, bookkeeping, and business assistance programs that we mentioned. The remaining 19 million is what is going to go into the direct capital to businesses. The remaining million will go to staffing to help us to run these programs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The chair, we're moving along too. The chair now recognizes Dr. Nina Ahmad.
Thank you, Council President. I had a quick question about the Liberty Bell. There we go. The Liberty Bell Safe Certification Program, and how will this be featured in our 2026 plans, in terms of really making sure we have all our, our commerce being ready to receive all these guests?
Thank you for the question. I invite Deputy Commerce Director Somerville to help answer. Nighttime Economy has been reporting to her.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Councilmember Ahmad. Thank you for the question. The Liberty Bell Safe Certification Program runs out of the Nighttime Economy, which is led by Raheem Manning. It's been a wonderful program. We had our first cohort of over 22 businesses that operate within the night economy participate. And they participate on this space of understanding how for conflict resolution, harm reduction, interaction, how to diffuse things that are happening within establishments, right, that can cause a nuisance business or draw attention to that business. We began that program with in mind for 2026, but I like to say 2026 and beyond, because the city is not just preparing for 2026, we're preparing to be a global city. So we're marketing that effort along with Visit Philly to identify these establishments of safe places to go and enjoy as visitors and residents that are here in the city of Philadelphia. The marketing behind that is to give the concept, if you're looking for somewhere to go, you understand that folks have been trained in these establishments to diffuse any harm that may come to patrons there. So we are excited for the first cohort that has went through.
So thank you for that. Do we expect to increase that number from 2022, I gather you said? And the second piece, what sparked my ears, was nuisance businesses. In the process of doing this, is Commerce sort of connected and understanding how many nuisance businesses are popping up and how we can feed that information to make sure we're addressing the issues, particularly around those smoke shops and things that are popping up and selling to minors?
So the night economy, again, that division, they're not doing this alone. We are in partnership with the police department, license and inspection. We're getting support from our legal team as well. And yes, they are also working with the nuisance task force for those discussions as well. This, again, as I stated, is the first cohort. There will be additional. The goal is to have everyone participate in this effort.
Thank you, and I just wanted to quickly say thank you to Alba for her service. We will miss you, but you're not going to be very far. And hopefully, the creative economy will benefit from your participation, and we can have the city to be the global city that we all desire it to be. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Don.
And also, just want to acknowledge also the hard work of Raheem Manning. Like, we call him the nightmare. And I understand when my colleague, Councilman Thomas, worked to create the position, but he's actually doing a good job helping us manage with a lot of businesses, particularly in the Rittenhouse Square area and, the late night hour, people hanging out. But as a person who's able to bring us together to kind of resolve the quality of life issues and actually advocate on behalf of the businesses. So I do want to go on the record.
Thank you.
Thank Raheem Manning for his
Raheem
hard
is an
work.
excellent emissary for this issue for Philadelphia and is sought after nationally to speak about this issue. So we're very, very proud of Raheem and his work.
Good, thank you. The chair recognizes Councilman Nicholas O'Rourke and then Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Alba, you're leaving us. But in more respect, Director Martinez, I believe that you might have been the first director or the first person that I spoke to in the first, couple months of this gig. And so to see your arc and all that you've provided to the city really is a blessing. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
2025, to those that care, to the United Nations, as well as more relevantly to the city of Philadelphia, is the year of the cooperatives. 2025 is also the year that the Commerce Department is significantly expanding their small business and grant offerings, with millions more in grants and technical assistance, which is a big milestone, even with all our questions about it. Commendations on that front. This administration has stated, though, that their goal with this funding is to make sure that all Philadelphians have access to economic growth and opportunity. What we also know, as a point of fact, is that cooperatives have higher business success rates than traditional businesses, that they have higher pay rates, that they have lower turnover, that they consistently provide more reliable opportunities for generational wealth building, and finally, they're much more likely to be owned by women and people of color. Given these facts, the Philadelphia Area Cooperative Alliance and my office are advocating for $1 million dedicated grant fund and $300,000 in technical support dollars specifically set aside for cooperative business growth and development. So I want to ask, would you support a dedicated line of funding specifically for growing and developing cooperative businesses?
Cooperatives are, I have to agree, incredibly important in an economic ecosystem. At this point, I can't make a financial commitment to a specific line of funding because that's a collective effort. Budget making in the Parker administration is a collective effort. But I will say that I agree with you of the significance of cooperatives and that the Commerce Department, specific line item or not, is in the business of supporting cooperatives that are in the business of helping grow the economy. So we will support cooperatives with everything we can, regardless of whether it sits in the budget or not.
Thank you for answering the question. Just taking the moment to say that I do believe that the more that we shine the light on cooperatives and elevate them up for what they provide, for those at the grassroots, for those who might be outside of the typical business track, I think the better, and I think the more we will actually be able to realize economic growth and opportunity for all. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to add that we already support the cooperatives, the area cooperative. We already fund them through our technical assistance program, and we've changed some of our programs to now. We've changed some of our programs to now include cooperatives, where before it was a business with one or two owners. We've expanded it, so we are on the right track.
Thank you for the insight.
Thank you, Member O'Rourke. Chair recognizes Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young, then Councilmember Brooks. Then we will officially go into round two. Oh, sorry, Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. My first question is around a catalyst fund. So most nonprofits in our city and in our Commonwealth are corporations, technically, right? So what opportunities exist for our nonprofit partners to access funds from this Catalyst Fund to get the technical assistance that they need to help scale their business, essentially, or not? Because nonprofits, believe it or not, are corporations, are businesses.
So, Councilman, the Catalyst Fund is envisioned as very targeted and focused on businesses, whether they're micro businesses or small businesses that are private, not nonprofit, that are growth ready, but who lack the kind of love capital that you don't have when you don't come from money, right? So it's truly focused on businesses and giving them love in the form of capital and support in the form of technical assistance and capacity building.
Why are nonprofits excluded from this?
Because nonprofits don't have, it's just really a design choice. It's about focusing and targeting our effort. However, there are other programs within Commerce that can support nonprofits. So this is just one product, if you will, within a product line, and there are other product lines that would support nonprofits in their growth and development, recognizing that they also are economic engines in the community. So under no circumstances is it a diminishment of nonprofits. It's simply saying there is a fund for businesses that are taking risk, right, and that are profit-making businesses, and we want to help those business owners to achieve the greatest chance of economic success, and yes, make profit, because when they make profit, we win.
Can you tell, I guess this is something for my own personal information, but if you could provide us with who in the Commerce Department we can talk to about those opportunities for the nonprofit organizations, I think that'll be helpful. We have a lot of nonprofits in our city that are providing services and programs, and they actually, hire people too, right? So my second question is regarding the Ridge Avenue corridor. You mentioned Ridge Avenue in your statement. it's a lot of people on Ridge Avenue with great ideas, but there are a lot of vacant and blighted properties. So what strategy does Commerce have to help property owners stabilize commercial corridors like this, so the ideas aren't just don't go by the wayside?
Thank you, Councilman. We're working closely right now with Lower North to figure out the best way to reactivate that corridor. We're working with them collaboratively with PHA. We also have all our resources that we have for businesses are available to them, but we are not doing it in a hands-off manner. We're working very closely with Lower North, as I said, to make sure that they get what they need, they get the assistance that they need, and we're actually in the process of helping them hire a project manager who will be out there and who will figure out what the market conditions are and help us collectively figure out what is the best way or the best businesses to move into Ridge Avenue.
So one solution I have is providing some funding for some of these nonprofits to file Act 135 conservatorships on these vacant and blighted properties. Those are the entities that I believe that law was made for the cities to provide that support for these nonprofits. I think will be helpful on these commercial corridors as neighborhoods continue to gentrify. Thank you, Mr. President. I come back around too.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just for comments, there's a lot of conversation regarding the revitalization of corridors, right? More for a fact, I've heard 3 members specifically talk about it. And do yourself some service and talk about the model you did in Point Breeze, right? Where we work with PIDC, right? We work with the Point Breeze Business Association, right? We came up with a master plan, right? Had everybody at the table. We had the nonprofit there, right? You had the business owners from Point Breeze Avenue there. You had old residents, new residents, PIDC part of the conversation, right? And the corridor managers came up with a plan in terms of move forward. So tell your story.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. The funding actually came from you for us to be able to...
So if y'all give us some of that funding.
Yes, so the funding came from you for us to be able to move forward with that. But that is really our model in most corridors. I can point to North Fifth, where we started with a plan, right? It's difficult for us to move forward without a plan. And we do provide a limited amount of funding for organizations and corridors to actually undertake plans. And again, yes, it's multifaceted, just as you mentioned. So we have the cleaning that TCB is taking care of. We have the corridor management, right, working with the businesses and making sure that they are present there. But the beginning of it is all a plan. And again, I appreciate you for providing the funding, but
So
point is well
maybe
taken.
you can, with Jeffrey Young and your
Yes.
team, maybe talk about that same model. Part of his budget request for his district may be creating that overall vision so he can
Yes.
incorporate exactly what he wants to have
And
accomplished.
we are working with Lower North towards that. Want to add to it?
I just want to address briefly the issue of activation of corridors and vacant properties that has been mentioned a couple times and is, one of the issues I would say that I lose sleep over, right? Because the idea that we have these assets and they're dormant and everybody agrees it's an issue, and how do we work efficiently to stimulate that in a targeted manner? And the mayor has made very clear to the Commerce Department that she wants to see a strategy, and we are working on a strategy right now that would be in support of businesses that want to step up, right? Growth-ready businesses, corridor-ready businesses that want to step up and be in the corridor, right? And help fill a vacancy. How can we support them? And we believe that the time has come for us to develop a program to address that. We are working on it quietly right now to make sure we have a model that we can feel proud of, but the mayor has made very clear she wants Commerce to step into that issue and provide some leadership.
And I think that's great. And we're all on board. That's how we work in partnership together.
Absolutely.
But also just making sure that part of that strategy overall, when it's rolled out, it's in consultation with the district council members
100%.
for rolling out and making sure there's buy-in from the community. And I think that's that synergy that I know we can all do to move the city of Philadelphia
Council
forward.
President, a strategy like that would only work in tight coordination with the district council people.
And the last part, something I deal with in Point Breeze that we're balancing also is making sure, and I know Jeffrey is sensitive to this because I used to come past Ridge Ave when I was a young guy from South Philly, hanging up North Philly. The Ridge Avenue today is not the Ridge Avenue in the early 2000s, right? And a diverse neighborhood is a strong neighborhood, but we also want to make sure that that neighborhood reflects the long-term residents who live there and maintain the cultural fabric of the neighborhood, and also making sure that we don't have 10 coffee shops on the corridor, right? We could mix it up a little bit, maybe some Aldi's and some Dollar Generals and some CVS's, and not just all, and I go to Sprouts and stuff like that and Whole Foods, but at the end of the day, I grew up at Acme, and I get it. So we have to make sure that the businesses that do come in reflect the demographics of the neighborhood, but also from an economic standpoint, like when you have the changing of Girard Avenue, where I can go to the corner store, can I say the Poppy store, and get me a cheesesteak. Well, I don't eat meat anymore, but a platter might cost $2.50, and then that new store comes with that same platter that's $15. And so, it creates a different market inside the neighborhood. So those are things we have to be very, very thoughtful about in terms of when we're looking at our corridors and we're making sure that it's a corridor for everybody. But I know we're on the same
Council
page with
President,
that.
that's absolutely right. It's not just throwing money at a problem, which is why I'm saying the commitment is there, the requirement from the mayor is there, and we are currently working on a model that we will then obviously work in collaboration with council to vet and make sure that it is something that we can all feel proud of.
Looking forward to the plan. Thank you very much. Councilmember Brooks and Councilmember Jones. Bass, I don't see your light on. Squill, I don't see your light on. You okay? Okay, then Councilmember Bass. So it's Brooks, Jones, Bass.
Thank you, Council President. My question is for planning and development. Are you gonna, they're not here?
They're here and come up and give their presentation just yet.
Okay.
So you want to hold off for them?
I can hold off, because
Okay, they're coming up
my
shortly.
questions were kind of connected with Harry's stuff, so.
Councilmember Jones, then Councilmember Bass.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And I join the chorus that will miss your transition from the Commerce Department, but wish you success. And thank you for your team that has meant so much to my district. Couple of things. Number one, I'm looking forward to the tour with your department, with the mayor on Main Street, April 24th, to take a walking tour, ride around, tour about the eclectic nature of Main Street. If Chestnut Hill and South Street had a baby, it would be Main Street, because neither one of them have the water that we have in the canal. So we want to get the mayor up there to share her vision. I'm going to take you back to before your tenure, when we had social uprising and some risings that didn't look real good in the corridors. You represent about 103 corridors. They took a hit when we had that unrest. And many of those corridors still, to this day, have not recovered fully. One of the things that came out of that was we wanted to kind of create an Amber Alert warning system. When these peaceful protests evolved into something nefarious on our commercial corridors. I'll never forget me and member Gutierrez sharing phone calls about 52nd Street when one of the police...
Ask your question, Member Jones.
Oh, my question is, where are we with a Amber Alert warning system that kind of checks in when we have a peaceful protest that falls into the evening, that we work with the business corridors, the police departments, to secure our vulnerable corridors and how to protect them.
And for the record, I do want to acknowledge the work of Curtis Jones Jr. when George Floyd hit. Sound the alarm when they were looting and ravishing ShopRite and the key plaza in his district at 52nd and Parkside is the impetus of this question.
Yes. First, I want to thank you for your leadership around the blueprint, and in preparing for this testimony, I reflected upon all of the things that we've implemented, aligned with the blueprint report, and I'm proud to say that a lot of that work is underway. I've invited Deputy Director Fegley to answer your question specifically about that tool.
Good morning, Karen Fegley.
Good morning.
Deputy Commerce Director. Yeah, thank you so much, Councilman, for the blueprint and for your question. We've been through too many emergencies, right? And over the last 5 years or so, what that has caused us to do is, well, Commerce has learned a lot, and through those early days with the civil unrest, we have created internally an business emergency playbook that we activate. We have some simple things. We use our Teams chat as soon as any one of us hears about something that might, whether we're hearing it rumor, social media, or officially through OEM or the police, we sort of activate internally. We decide what the impact is going to be. If it's going to be something that warrants like a big response, we assign a point person. Now I know you're speaking about the civil unrest. We use this for other things. The latest was the plane crash, of course. Salim Wilson, stepped up and was on point for that. We ensure that we're working closely with the police department, with Office of Emergency Management, and any other department to make sure we're bringing resources to the businesses. We also have some tips we get out, tips for protecting your business. We try to do some early alerts, like you said, Amber Alert to the businesses in that we identify what the areas are, figure out how we can reach, we count a lot on the intermediaries, the CDCs, business associations, civic associations, so we especially get the word out right to them so they can distribute it, but we also go directly to the businesses as much as possible.
I don't want to scare us at all, but history tends to repeat itself, and we need to have almost like a fire drill, if you would, on how that communications chain would happen. I remember Catherine Gilmore Richardson out there. I'm gonna leave it there. She is braver than she's braver than I am.
And I remember,
she was right.
I think Jamie was near a tank or something. Was it a tank out there with tear gas?
Yeah, she was out there, and her and Jamie.
I remember.
That's all I'll say, but I just want us to be able to coordinate with the district police, coordinate with the private security offered by some of the malls. I remember the lady Meatball calling in airstrikes. Here's what we get ready to go loot next. Kind of thing that we have to get ahead of those things and be prepared to protect, particularly the neighborhood corridors, that they don't get big insurance. For some people, Mr. President, it was like a clearance sale. The insurance covered every bit of their losses. They were able to next week get back on board. Others in 52nd Street and in my district weren't so lucky. Yeah. So we have to help them to be prepared for those kinds of occasions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Member Jones. Councilmember Cindy Bass.
Mr. President, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? So, Alba, as everyone else has stated, thank you for your service. Although I have to say, we go so far back to being Democratic Committee people in the 22nd Ward in 1990-something. I don't even want to say what year. You've always just been a class act, in my opinion. And so I just really want to thank you again for your service. And, but I also feel very confident as we both sort of moved around that we'll be seeing each other again, I'm sure, somewhere down 100%. The line. Who knows? Who knows? But best of wishes to you.
Thank you.
And so now just a couple of questions regarding some of the, well, actually just going to one of the questions that my colleague Nick O'Rourke asked earlier, as he and I have been working on co-ops, and we heard you say that they were important, but it was kind of like that was it. If they're important, then they should be reflected somewhere in the plans for commerce, and I don't see that anywhere. Can we have some more detail on that? What's the plan? You know, if it's not planned for, if it's not measured, if there's no goal for it, you know, it's just not going to happen. And so we'd like some conversation around that. And also, I also want to take a second and just acknowledge Karen and Yvonne and Dennis, who I work with on a regular basis, and just say thank you so much to all of them for their work, and for, really to the entire Commerce Department for all of their hard work. But can you talk about co-ops briefly?
Thank you for your question. Yvonne?
Yes, thank you, Councilperson. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. And yes, co-ops are really now on our radar. As Councilman O'Rourke said, they really could be the way of small business in the future because you spread the risk.
Yes.
So we do fund the Philadelphia Area Cooperative Alliance already. We give them $100,000 a year. So we are doing that.
And how many co-ops does that support?
We fund the organization itself so that they
Right.
are out there to help businesses that want to form co-ops. Did you have?
Well, if we support them, but do we
Oh,
have
but
an
40
idea?
oh, yes, 40
of who are they supporting?
40 co-ops. They
40
support
co-ops
40
with
co-ops.
$100,000.
Well, we support their organization, right?
We support
And
the organization which
that
does
is
work on
supporting-
behalf
That
of.
is supporting them, yes.
Right, so I got you. So we support the organization which, with $100,000 per
Yes.
year, that does work on behalf of 40 different organizations.
Yes, and I mean, that's a good average for the way in which our work goes. We have other technical assistance providers, which we give them 100, 150, and they support upwards of 200 businesses. So yes, I do get your point, but it's yes, we'll look and see how we can adjust it. We had a training with them just last week to explain better our programs and how our programs can be accessed by their members. We've also changed their programs to make it easier for cooperatives to access the funding that we provide.
Okay.
So we will, yes, as you know, we will look at it moving in the future and see how best we can support them more.
It doesn't feel like robust programming for co-ops. And as you said, if you think that this is something significant for the future, it doesn't feel that there's a robust commitment by the Commerce Department. It feels like there's a drop here and there's a drop there.
Your feedback is well taken, and we will take it back and have a conversation before I leave about this issue of supporting co-ops and how we can take it to the next level. Thank you for the feedback.
Okay. One other question. 2026, what is Commerce doing around, particularly around small minority businesses in the neighborhoods around 2026?
So we're very excited about our investment in the 2026 activities because our primary focus is on the corridors, right? Selecting in partnership with council and the administration, and also looking at, which are the right corridors for this moment, activating and investing in up to 20 corridors to ensure that they become active participants in this economic opportunity, this unprecedented economic opportunity. Those investments, which roughly will amount to about $4 million targeted to this initiative, will include physical beautification as well as investment in activating those corridors and the surrounding areas with cultural activities and events that will draw people. Layered into that will be other investments in storefront beautification, right? To make sure that businesses can compete and participate And last but not least, something that I talk about a lot is the marketing of those corridors. We have an investment and a commitment to invest in the marketing of those corridors that we want to showcase for 2026. And that investment in marketing our corridors needs to be enduring, because it is not reasonable to expect individual corridors and individual businesses to be able to market themselves and do so efficiently. So, Councilwoman, I will tell you that we are doubling down on investing in businesses within those corridors. In addition to that, there's going to be, and there already is, a really deep commitment to making sure that every business in the city, whether they're on those corridors or not, knows how to tap into opportunities. Hey, where are the opportunities? How do I apply? Who is eligible? What are the requirements? And we work collectively with Michael Loomis and others on all of these issues. And so creating an access portal for small businesses that want to participate is really crucial. And that portal really is going to have to be available very soon. And we're taking steps towards that.
So how are we going to do that? I'm sorry, Mr. President. How are we going to do that? How are we going to make sure every business in the city is aware of how to tap into the programs, the services, the resources that are offered by the Commerce Department? That sounds like a massive undertaking unless we already have, you know, all of this in place.
Well, I would want to defer on the details of that initiative to Michael. However, I will say, generally speaking, that there is a lot of communication every week. The leaders across, internally in the city and outside of the city, in terms of our partners, are continuously speaking about a number of work streams, and access to opportunity is one of the work streams that gets talked about on a continuous basis. And so the component parts are obviously inventorying what the opportunities are, and obviously we're in a position to do that because we're connected into, you know, every investment, right? We have the power, the government has the power to get information fairly easily. And then second of all, loading it up in some sort of platform that will allow people easy access. And thirdly, to market it. So while it is a lift, it is not, you know, what I'll say rocket science. We could absolutely do it if we have the commitment and the will. And so it is on the top of the agenda, and I do believe that there is serious commitment to making it happen.
I hear what you're saying. We're almost midway in the 2025. So we're at that moment now. So, you know, I don't know how it's going to be rushed.
I'll get you the details. I'm going to get you the details about where we are on that specific project, right? Because there is work done on the project. I just don't have the actual status here, so I would like to follow up with you on what steps are we taking to ensure access to information.
Okay, because we, you know, to me, it should be happening right now already. It's late because 2026 is, you know, 7 months away.
Thank you.
I want to also add a point of information as well, just to add to the conversation. And so, Commissioner, could you have your team sit down with Member Bass, and I think any other members, regarding what Michael Loomis is doing regarding ramping up the strategy and the execution for the inclusivity of small businesses to participate, the corridor enhancement presentation that I received yesterday, which is very, very informative, but I think it would be more prudent if members as a whole would be able to sit down and see where we're at and where we're going, because there are also there's information that you're not actually saying that I've actually seen that other members probably need to see, so everybody on the same page, like the portal that's going to be rolled out, like the corridor program specific around infrastructure that's going to be rolled out. And so I would like for you to follow up with Michael Loomis and Giselle Jones to roll out
Duly
what that
noted.
looks like.
We will provide a briefing specifically on those issues.
Thank you. I'm going to take a matter of discretion at this moment, ask planning to come up, because there's some members who didn't get a chance to ask questions in the first round who want to ask questions regarding planning, and then we'll just integrate the two as we end out this next hour. And I'll do the discretion, let you go even longer as we wrap up.
Do you want me to stay?
You can stay and just have Jesse and John Malnick stay up there as well.
Absolutely.
And as questions come up for comments, you can call individuals up.
Sure, absolutely.
Is that okay, members? Good with that? Okay. Jesse, just state your name for the record. Go into your testimony. I think we read it already, but we'll be prepared to ask questions immediately.
Good morning, everybody. Jesse Lawrence, Director of Planning and Development. Read the testimony. Apologies. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Council President. Good morning, City Council members. I am Jesse Lawrence. I'm the Director of Planning and Development for the City of Philadelphia. I'm joined here today by our senior leadership team, including representatives from PHDC and the Land Bank. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you here today to present our fiscal year 2026 budget proposal and discuss the important work ahead. The Department of Planning and Development partners with Philadelphia's communities to promote, plan, preserve, and develop neighborhoods that are safe, clean, and green. Focusing on the built environment, we strive to foster thriving communities with accessible housing, a dynamic public sphere, and a resilient economy. Our mission is rooted in ensuring every neighborhood contributes to making Philadelphia the safest, cleanest, greenest big city in America. For fiscal year 2026, DPD's work will span comprehensive planning, housing creation and preservation, land management, economic development, all of which are guided by research, data, and deep intentional stakeholder engagement. Central to these efforts is the implementation of the Home Initiative to create and preserve 30,000 housing units. The work here includes cross-departmental collaboration pursuant to the Mayor's Executive Order number 325, which tasks DPD with identifying and implementing recommendations for reducing unnecessary delays and costs, encouraging timely development of much-needed residential projects, and bringing affordable luxury to affordable housing across the board. We look forward to exploring home in depth more on April 23rd, when this body holds a day of hearings dedicated to the initiative. Today we're honored to be sharing our other ambitious plans for fiscal year 2026. These include the coordinated planning for the revitalization of the Market East Corridor in collaboration with business, civic, and community stakeholders. We will begin that public engagement effort for updates to the city comprehensive plan, including resident-led tours, community workshops, in-person hubs, surveys, and laying the groundwork for a collective vision of Philadelphia's future. At the same time, we will expand Treasure Philly, a program piloted by the Philadelphia Historical Commission. Treasure Philly explores a concept of preservation that goes beyond structures to encompass meaningful local cultural resources, traditions, and histories. We're also prioritizing the strategic use of public land by the Philadelphia Land Bank. This will include scaling Turn the Key, a program that makes homeownership opportunities available and builds intergenerational wealth. Monthly mortgage payments under the Turn the Key program are less than what many Turn the Key home buyers were paying in rent. We will also develop and implement a strategic plan for the acquisition, maintenance, and disposition of properties by the Land Bank, and looking at ways to advance curb appeal, also increasing transparency through new reporting tools. In addition, our Division of Housing and Community Development, most of which know as DHCD, will continue to support effective cleaning and greening programs such as land care. Studies have found that an increase of nearly 13% in home values over the 6 years near stabilized lots, a 29% decrease in gun violence, 22% fewer burglaries, and 30% decrease in illegal dumping, and a 41% decrease in the feelings of depression amongst residents. We will continue key programs supporting homeownership, foreclosure prevention, and eviction diversion. With our partners at PHDC, we will enhance the shallow rent program for rent-burdened households, and we will implement new training and outreach initiatives to make home appraisals more equitable. Our department is committed to improving internal operations and service delivery. We will, for example, enhance performance management processes within the Zoning Board of Adjustment to improve accessibility, reduce processing times, and increase transparency. In conclusion, the Department of Planning and Development remains steadfast in its commitment to building safe, equitable, and vibrant communities throughout Philadelphia. The fiscal year 26 budget proposal reflects the resources necessary to advance this mission, and I'm grateful for City Council's ongoing partnership and support. Thank you for your time, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Jesse. I'm gonna let my members delve right into it. I just had one comment I just want to make. Just want to acknowledge from the Turn and Key program, how many houses have we built to date? How many trees under MPI have we removed to date? How many driveways have we completed to date? And
we have built a total of...
Speaking to the microphone,
Sorry, I'm
please.
looking for the information. No, sorry. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the information. This just didn't have it. One second, Council President. Okay. I don't believe we have those exact numbers. We've approved, I do have that we've approved an average of 227 units for turn to key per year of each bond. Additionally, MPI is that largest source of funding for any preservation and production for affordable housing. And we look to fill those gaps as we keep going. For further details, I do believe Ryan is here. And if you have those numbers, would you mind coming up? Or if we don't have those numbers, we can get those exact numbers to you. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get those numbers to you.
I know the numbers. I want to go on the record, but I want to take a moment to acknowledge part of my team, right? I want to make them stand and put them on the spot, right? Janae Mumford, stand up. Ashley Gilmore, stand up. Because they go hard on this particular initiative, right? Obviously, we have the leadership working in partnership with Brian and Dave Thomas. Give them a round of applause on the administration side. And so I just want to acknowledge them for their hard work. And I know I'm going to save a lot of my questions regarding the home initiative when we have the actual day to do a deeper dive on it. But MPI is a critical program to members of City Council, right? All members of City Council. And I know they work diligently day in and day out to make sure that program is very successful. So I just want to acknowledge them and put the actual work that we're doing on the record just to show that we're being effective and being prudent by the taxpayers in terms of addressing the issue of housing inequality here in the city of Philadelphia, and looking forward to doing a deeper dive on the home initiative as we move the city of Philadelphia forward addressing housing inequality. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to first Councilmember Brooks, then Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, Jamie Gauthier, and then Councilmember Jim Hardy in that order.
Thank you, Council President, and good morning. My question's around community gardens, which you guys know that's one of my soft spots. So for the last 2 decades, we've lost a third of community gardens in Philly under the threat, and we wanted to take some action. So City Council has secured funding for 90 plots from the U.S. bank liens that have been transformed into community gardens. We passed the legislation fixing the priority bid so that the land bank can acquire these properties. And now there is an MOU with the Sheriff's Department to facilitate the sale. What is the process and timeline for the acquisition of the U.S. bank lien garden properties, and will the gardens be in the hands of the gardeners?
So what I can provide before I call my colleague Angel Rodriguez up, who's much more versed in the land bank and the ability to acquire, we are happy that sheriff sales have started back up. My understanding is that these next few months will be a series of board approvals that will allow for them to acquire again. But I'd like to call up Angel Rodriguez to talk more about that when it comes to the land bank and the ability to acquire.
And now I want to leave Angel out. Thank you, Angel, for your hard work around Turn the Key and making sure the land has moved forward in our councilmanic districts as we address the issue of housing inequality in the city of Philadelphia. Good morning, Angel. He's also hails from the 2nd Councilmanic District of South Philly.
Yes, I am. Good morning, Council President, Council members. Angel Rodriguez, Executive Director of the Land Bank. I just want to clarify for the first question you had asked. We've approved 800 properties for Turn the Key. 400 are under construction, 235 have been completed, and over 200 have been sold. 75 of those are to city employees. So I just want to, and have about $13.1 million engaged in turnkey dollars for those secondary mortgages, and about $1.3 million for Philly First Home as well, all part of MPI.
Thank you, Andrew.
No problem. To the question about the U.S. Bank lien, so on the 23rd, we had a special session with the Land Bank. We approved, Land Bank Board, we did approve the MOU. It was executed that day, went into effect on the 24th. So the plan right now is that we are meeting with Linebarger, who is the servicing agent for U.S. Bank. The city, on larger U.S. Bank liens, we also have a meeting scheduled with the city. The city actually purchased back the liens, so we are working with all three servicers, that's GRB, Linebarger, and the city, in terms of setting up Land Bank's first sheriff sale on the Bid for Assets platform, which will be in June, all three sheriff sales. It's important to note, because of the legislation, we do have a noticing requirement. So we do have to send out in a timely fashion a notice to everybody that has an interest on that property. They then have the option, as is outlined in the legislation, that would allow them to opt out of the priority bid that the Land Bank has and go to a regular sheriff's sale. So we hope to acquire those properties by June. It should be a fairly simple situation, but I do have to work out the detail with the Revenue Department. I'm not going to speak for that department. They're taxed as well, as every other department, and it does take quite a bit of legal work to get that to sheriff's sale.
All right, thank you. Could I have like 4 follow-ups and you can just answer those? It's just like kind of one sentence.
Yes.
So one is, will the Land Bank website list clear requirements for gardeners to acquire? Because most of these folks are volunteers, don't really have the capacity to do a lot of paperwork. So I'm really concerned about how the next steps will happen once we get past this. The other one is, what will be the cost to the gardeners to acquire these properties? Will there be a streamlined application that's geared to these particular gardens? When will the applications for the gardeners be open? And what supports will be given to community garden groups, which are mostly volunteer organizations, to acquire these properties?
So just as a point of
That
clarification, though, under the ordinance and under the methods and disposition, you have to be a nonprofit to be qualified for a garden disposition. We are working with NGT. Most people do partner with NGT. I just recently, at the last board meeting, had a brief conversation. I'm gonna follow up with Jenny Greenberg. She does have some edits to our garden application. It is a specialized application. There are certain issues that we do have to deal with. We cannot sell something we do not own.
Right.
So there's a concern about what the timing of the application, so we can't actually approve them for disposition if I don't own it. So there's going to be a bit of an issue where, and we're working with the Sheriff's Department, where we go to the sheriff's sale, they have a certain timeline under the MOU they've agreed to convey those titles and deeds to us. We record them, and then we should be able to dispose of them. But there is a process. Since we will be doing it in June, council is not in session, so any future dispositions for gardens will not happen until the fall, because council resolution is required for a disposition.
Okay, thank you for mapping that out. I want to thank you also for working closely with Jenny Greenberg and NGT and moving this forward. This has been a long time coming. I think we've been working on this 5, almost 6 years now, just me personally, and whatever work Councilmember Sanchez and other folks did well before I got here. So I want to thank you for moving that forward. And I just want to do another thank you and shout out for Turn the Key too. I have 2 staff members that just came through Turn the Key. So I really do appreciate the work that has been put behind that, because we're offering opportunities for folks that never had an opportunity or thought they could be homeowners to do so. So thank you so much for that work.
Good job. And I still get a mayor's shout out for moving on those vacant green lots for the people, because I remember That was one of her priorities, and I think she was being supportive, gave you that bill to be supportive of that. And I also saw some money in the budget, so I just wanted to say to acknowledge that for the record. Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson, Councilmember Jim Hardy, Councilman Jamie Gautier.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President. And thank you, Jesse, and to the entire team at Planning. Thank you for being on the call that we had with our MPI team here in Council, with Janae Mumford in the Legal Service Organizations and the Register of Wills Office. And thank you, Angel, for your support with all of the land bank work. I also want to thank you for turning the key. I also have a staffer, Councilmember Brooks, that is coming through the program as well and just opening up a world of opportunity around home ownership. So thank you very much. Very quickly, I have a number of questions that I need to get on the record. And I also will, in advance, come back for the second round. What is the short-term plan to sustain the MPI operations as we discuss the proposed home plan, particularly around Tangled Titles, neighborhood infrastructure, and BSRP, and the other programs?
So those programs, there's a dais of programs that will continue and expand, invest and expand. Tangled Title is one of them. We are also looking to make sure that we maintain some funding for neighborhood improvements such as driveways and alleyways as well.
Excellent. So what I would ask is if you all could give us something in writing that notates the additional short-term sort of plan, the overall short-term plan for the MPI operations as you know it to be currently, so that we have that as of today. And then also, how much remaining bond dollars are there from MPI?
50 million, I believe.
50 million, okay. And so the question is, can you confirm whether or not you plan to roll over any remaining bond dollars from MPI into the new home plan?
So there will be a bridging of the gap of sorts until programs are stood up, until programs are actually, exactly. The programs that we're looking to maintain in the home bond and in the home initiative, there is a series of them. I mean, a number of them have to be stood up, right? A number of them have to be expanded or will be expanded. And for those that we are in collaboration with you all on the councilmanic side and looking to make sure we bridge that, that's what we believe that 50 million will be dedicated to.
So if you could give us a list, a breakdown
Yes.
of that information, because the Tangled Title support and investment that we achieved out of MPI was one of the very first investments from MPI, but you know that we have a number of other investments that we want to continue to make across neighborhoods. And so if we could get a breakdown of how you all intend to deal with that additional, or not additional, but the last 50 million
Yes.
From MPI, that would be helpful for us to understand what's happening here, and particularly if it's going to roll over into a new bond initiative or how that will work. Okay, and if it changes from if there's a taxable bond versus a tax-exempt bond, and if you roll over, then what type of bond it would go into at that point. I did hear the bell. I just want to get one more question on the record for this round, and then I'll come back on the second round because I have additional questions from the detail in particular. But we recognize that costs are increasing for our Tangled Title cases. You know that there was a change up at the PA Department of Revenue regarding how they are no longer exempting transfer tax from certain properties, and you know that that's increasing costs from $3,000 to $5,000. It could be upwards to $8,000, depending on the type of property you're talking about and the property value. So how many families has the Tangled Title Fund been able to assist so far this fiscal year? How does this differ from last year? How much do you think we need in the fund to fully cover the costs of all the applicants? And are you anticipating the revenue from the new fee will go into the fund? And if so, will that raise enough revenue to meet the goals?
So I'd like to call up our Deputy Director for Housing and Community Development, Mark Dodds, to
Okay,
give
and
those
is
questions.
let me ask you a question. Who's the new Melissa?
Mark Dodds.
Okay, we work really closely with Melissa. I don't think I've known for a year and a half who the new Melissa is. No slight at all. I just didn't know exactly who it is. But we really need a full breakdown of the whole Tangle title piece, like at the point when someone starts with our system and then goes through the Tangle title. That's what I'm asking, but specifically around that revenue change up at the state and where our numbers have been year over year.
Interim Director Dodds can walk you through that.
Okay.
Yes, good afternoon, Interim Director Mark Dodds, Division of Housing and Community Development. So first of all, in order to be eligible for the program, you have to meet certain requirements. Income has to be at or below 80% AMI. You have to live in the home or intend to live in the home. And your net assets, I believe, have to be at or below $10,000. And then we also work with a variety of legal aid organizations to implement the program. That includes VIP, CLS, PLA, and senior law. Referrals can come through our neighborhood advisory committees, or individuals can go directly to those legal aid providers for those services. And we are aware of what you cited, some increases in the transfer tax. That's something we're actively communicating with our partners on, especially VIP. We do anticipate receiving somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 in FY26 as the increase in recording fees, which I believe you cited as well. And we're hoping, these discussions are ongoing, that some of that funding can help mitigate the higher transfer taxes that you alluded to.
Okay, but the other question, and my apologies, Madam Chair, how many families has the Tangle Title Fund been able to assist so far this fiscal year, and how that differs from last year?
I don't have those figures in front of me. The fund covers costs up to $4,000 right now, but we can get you a breakdown.
Thank you very much. And I just want to put on the record, and I'm going to bring this up again when we hear from the Register of Wills office as well, and I've spoken with our register as late as Friday evening about this issue, that I do have some concern about sort of the inner mechanics of the Tangle Title Fund and how families have been able to interact with our fund, not more so from the city administration side, but just from how it touches the administration, the legal service aid organizations, and the Register of Wills office, and our ability to work cohesively together to get a family to resolution. And so that I've been on the meetings, Director Lawrence, I've been intimately involved with this issue from day one. This is one of my babies. And so we are just seeking to help as many families as possible. So I just want to put it on the record related to MPI, but also the Tangle Title Fund around what we will need from you all moving forward, recognizing all these changes and coming to the end of MPI. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Council Lady. Next, Councilwoman Gauthier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My questions are about the land bank. If I'm reading your budget proposal correctly, there isn't any budget increase for land bank operations. At the same time, I know that we're planning to build thousands of new units on land bank land, and we know that it currently takes over a year at best to get a property out the door. I think we can all agree that the land bank needs more lawyers, more project managers, and more property maintenance dollars now that the priority bid is back, but I don't see any of that in the budget. So first, why not? Second, how much of the land bank's FY26 acquisition budget is going to come from the general fund? And how much of it will come from the home bonds? And then, now that the land bank is acquiring properties again, how many parcels are on its priority list, and will its projected FY26 budget be enough to acquire them all?
So I can start off by letting you know that the land bank secured $5 million in acquisitions for sheriff sales to resume. The money's in escrow, and there will be an additional 1.5 for the U.S. bank lien, I believe. But I can allow for Mr. Rodriguez to talk about that a little bit more in depth.
So you're saying there's $5 million in the budget for acquisition?
We already have the $5 million. So it's $3.5 million for regular acquisitions, which on average gets us about 325 properties. And then we have the 90 that have been already identified and where the city has already expended about $1.2 million to acquire the U.S. bank lien. So then there's $1.5 that the land bank has to go to sheriff's sale and acquire those dollars. So it's $5 million total. That is not part of the budget because that's already been expended in previous fiscal years.
It's been expended?
We've
or-
drawn it down, it's in our bank account.
Okay,
So we already have the money.
Thank you. Can you talk about the land bank operations issue? And being that the land bank is such a crucial part of our housing strategy, why doesn't the proposed budget include more for operations?
Well, I mean, I think it also has to deal with the fact that there are some positions that currently need to be filled at the land bank. And Andrew can talk about what exactly those positions are, but right now there are openings for positions that will allow for the land bank to keep on going and actually respond to the task at hand when it comes to the home plan.
So we have 2 vacancies. We have a real estate director position and we have 1 project manager position.
I seem to remember, I mean, we had a hearing not too long ago, and you were pretty clear about the additional capacity that we need, and I don't seem to see that here. And while we're on the topic of the hearing, we had this hearing back in the fall. We received testimony from almost 60 stakeholders. After the hearing, Councilmember Lozada and I emailed you a summary of the top 10 recommendations, and we sent that like 6 weeks ago. So can you first speak to the request for additional staff and how it matches to our discussion during the hearing? And next, can we expect to receive a response from you and to meet with you as requested during this budget cycle on the recommendations?
So since that hearing, we have brought on an extra attorney. The position, there's still a vacancy in project management, and there's still a real estate director position that's open. Property management is obviously an ongoing issue, and previously what I had spoken about were issues that were related to lawsuits that we had for conservatorship cases, which were unexpected costs to the land bank, in excess of $300,000. That includes demolition costs, settlement fees, outside legal fees. So those all impacted the FY25 budget. As it relates to the letter that you had sent, I had shared it with the administration. Be more than happy to meet with you and Councilwoman Lozada.
Thank you. We look forward to that. And I want to continue to have a discussion about the capacity we need at the land bank as we continue this budget process. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Council Lady. And I also want to just add on to that because, you know, when the land bank first came to fruition, it was with great fanfare. And there was a lot of, you know, sort of hope and ideas in terms of what it was going to do to whittle down the, you know, tens of thousands of city-owned, government-owned properties here in the city of Philadelphia. And so can you give us an idea as to how many, from its inception to now, how many properties has actually come through the land bank? How much property have you actually disposed of through the land bank?
Give me 1 second, I can tell you.
Okay.
So in total, we have disposed of 1,017 properties.
1,000?
17. Each year, we have increased our capacity and disposition. Obviously, with the advent of NPI, those numbers started to increase exponentially.
So what's the total universe of properties? What's the total number of properties?
Right now, we have about 6,000 properties across all agencies. That's that's Department of Public Property, that's the city-owned properties, the Redevelopment Authority, the Land Bank, and PHDC.
So in my, you know, my humble opinion, the land bank should be working its way out of business because if the idea is to get rid of these properties. And so at 325 properties this year,
that's proposed for acquisition for this year. Right now, currently, what we have identified for disposition is more along the lines of 583 properties.
so 500 properties, roughly, I'm just
583,
saying.
closer to 600.
So is that on average per year?
That's an increased average, yeah.
That's an increased average? Okay, and so you don't see that as going down?
No.
Do you? Okay.
I think as we work closely with council, we've started conversations with various council members about issuing RFPs. Once we have that pipeline going, the issue is to keep it going. It does take a while to get dispositions moving through the approval phase and then also in the entitlement phase. I will say that we're working closely with planning and development. We have a working team with them. We're working with SEPTA. We're working with PHA, all in an effort to really streamline that regulatory environment and see where we can actually fast track. We're also considering items where maybe the land bank will do certain things to make disposition easier and development easier by,
That'd be great.
it could be consolidating a lot, asking for a change in zoning, like we've asked certain districts to go from RSA 5 to RSA 6 to really address what we actually have in the inventory. So all of those items have been happening, and we are moving forward with a higher level of coordination. But I can't stress enough that because development takes a while to maintain that pipeline.
So, and one last question, which is, what was the original? Do you know what the original universe was when we first started the land bank? And I think it was like 2014.
Anecdotally, it was 8,000.
It was 8,000.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work to really refine that number. A significant portion of that, the 6,000 is part of sales, but also refining that we do manage land that will not be disposed of because we don't have a viable partner to dispose of. A lot of that to Councilmember Brooks and Gaudier's concerns about gardeners. We do have a lot of neighborhood gardeners that are actively utilizing a space. We know they're not in a position to actually take on the title and responsibilities, so those are owned and managed properties. So we've done a lot of work to do that. Certain properties just won't be disposed of, or others are not developable because they are too small.
Gotcha.
Or, yeah,
and I'm just going to say this because I know we have other folks who have questions, but we went from a universe of 8,000 properties and say, I think it was 2014.
8,000.
8,000, yeah, 8,000.
Please, give you a heart attack.
But I did think it was higher than 8,000. I thought it was a lot higher than 8,000, so I'm surprised to hear that number.
So
but
I think when we started the land bank, just so we're aware, there's a report out that says there are 40,000 vacant lots throughout the city. The city has 20% of that at the beginning of the land bank. And when I came on board in 2017, that was an inventory of 8,000. So now we have 6,000.
So that 40,000 is what?
That's privately held property.
So that's not city-owned, that's privately owned?
Correct.
Okay. But I just want to say this, to go from 8,000 over 10 years to 6,000, and how much, what kind of budget we've had for the land bank for the last 10 years, to 11 years.
It's been level funded at $3 million.
You know, it doesn't feel very efficient or effective. And I know that y'all are working hard on it, but I'm just saying, you know, like anybody, if this, you know, like if this was a business, if I was in the business of managing this, and I went from 8,000, my goal is to get as close to zero as possible, and over 11 years I go from 8,000 to 6,000, you know, I'd be out of business probably. So just a thought, just my thought.
Councilman, if I may add, you know, we recognize the power of the land bank and the optimal kind of pace it should be operating at, right? But we also recognize that there are some other factors external to it in other departments as well, knowing that, one, you know, when developers do get to a point where they have received all approvals necessary, you know, we need to be able to get them to a point where they can get through the entitlements process faster. And I think as a city, what we end up doing when we do that, we make it a better place to do business. And I think there's a, you know, bit of a stigma in doing business with the land bank when it comes to the purchasing of publicly owned land because of that timeline you've described. So making sure that we're making a comprehensive effort to attack it and make sure that we are, you know, eliminating time tax, not just at the land bank, but the external departments that have a part in the role of development here in the city of Philadelphia. That's important to us too under DPD.
Well, you know, I don't want to belabor the point, but I get what you're saying, and I don't want you to feel as if I'm blaming you because y'all weren't there from the beginning. But I'm just saying that in 11 years, if we know that there's a problem with the timeline and the efficiency and working with other departments, I just don't see how it is that we haven't figured that out yet. So, but I want to recognize Councilmember Harity.
Thank you, Councilwoman. How are you? Everybody's going good today. Just a quick one. The proposed budget includes around $2 million in increase for positions and consulting related to the home initiative. I know we're not actually talking about the home. I just want to know about the contracts and the positions. Are these increases part of the mayor's proposed $2 billion?
So the increase in staffing that you see are, yes, they are a part of the home initiative to be able to staff up and respond to the anticipated amount of work that will come as a result of that home plan. Does that answer your question?
Part of it. How many positions are you planning to hire, and how many consultants are you planning on hiring with the $2 million?
So the positions that are going to be up under DPDs, that's about 32 positions, I believe, right? The consultants will be funded through an extent of being able to get us to a point of where we're going to implement. I mean, they were brought on earlier this year, late last year, to be able to assist us with looking at ways of doing things not just differently, but efficiently and creatively. Thinking about a lot of the work that they've done in other places along the lines of helping other places with their housing plans, bringing that knowledge into us, into our world here in Philadelphia, helping us understand what works here and what can work here from other places as well. But the consultants will be funded not from the bond plan, but the remainder of their work will be funded through FY26 budget.
Okay, so 32 positions is what you're saying that you're going to hire with the $2 million?
That is what it will be for the $2 million effort. It will be for the $2 billion. Did you say 2 million or 2 billion? I'm sorry.
2 million.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, we said 2 billion. I
Yeah,
thought you were
because
talking
at
about the plan.
32 positions at 2 million, that doesn't sound like we're paying them much, but, you know. Like
Well, I mean, it's program management, it's clerical, it's project management as well. It's you know, HR, it's comms. It's a combination of different kind of productive roles that need to really allow for things that, you know, the production of the plan, implementation, carrying out, you know, HR, because if we're going to be bringing people in.
Are they civil service positions
It's
or union positions?
They're civil service.
Civil service and union?
I believe they're union as well, but we can get you the breakdown of what those positions are as well.
Oh, please. And then, just real quick, I heard the bell, but Ms. Martinez, and this is a yes or no, I just didn't catch the Container Village part. Are they going to be able to apply for some of that grant funding also, just like the regular?
The businesses
Yes.
themselves, sure, they should
Oh,
be
okay.
able to, yes.
All right, good. Then, yeah, I'd like to get some more information about that so that I can pass it on. I'm sure Councilman Jones would like to, too. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilmember Young.
Thank you. My first question, I guess, is for Alba, talking about the nighttime economy. I know Commerce just released a report saying nighttime economy, you know, can generate up to $15 billion in our city. Can you tell us what is going on with the Fishtown food truck and other initiatives that are happening to spur this nighttime economy in our city?
Yes, thank you for the question. The food truck project is still of great interest to the Commerce Department. It has not been implemented because, you know, I'll own it. I made a decision that I did not want to approve a program that was not in compliance with the law. I thought that we were taking on too much risk, and there was a, you know, a desire to have this program run past the hours that the law currently allows us to operate. And so we're now in the process of ensuring that we can get that type of legal support in order to launch this pilot. However, it is an idea that we support, and we hope that this will be the year where we can actually execute it. We were disappointed by the delay, but you know, sometimes you have to make tough decisions in my role, and I had to make the unfortunate decision to slow that project down.
Was this a city law or state law that you felt you were not in compliance with?
the city regulations don't allow food trucks to operate past a certain amount of time during the night. And if we were to allow that, there were some conversations about, well, maybe the city can allow non-enforcement, but I can tell you that as a lawyer, if something goes wrong, I don't think that that holds water. So we just need the regulation to match the pilot, and we have spoken to Councilman Squilla about supporting us in terms of coming to council requesting authorization to run a pilot that will extend past midnight.
Well, if that's an issue, you can cross Girard Avenue and come to the 5th Council District, and I'll be more than happy to introduce legislation to increase those particular hours.
Well, thank you so much for that. There will be room. I think this is a really great program and needed, and I think that there should and will be room for more of these across council districts. Thank you so much for that opportunity.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add?
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Phillips.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Just a question for the Department of Planning and Development, excuse me. You have mentioned earlier that, you're going to be focused on, some quality of life issues. How does the department plan to use its budget to enhance public green spaces that involve vacant land? So could DPD provide an update on how funding will be used to continue to or expand programs like land care to improve curb appeal, landscaping, and overall neighborhood aesthetics? Also, you have a timeline for execution.
Sure, I'd like to call up Deputy Director Mark Dodds about, to talk about our land care program and how DHCD works with that.
Good afternoon, Councilperson. Last year, during the FY25 budget process, there was a substantial increase to funding that goes towards the PHS Land Care Program. That funding through general fund comes across 3 different organizations, and DHCD holds the contract. Annually, the city cleans and greens over 12,000 lots, but a big difference that happened through a mid-year transfer this year is that an additional $1.7 million was added to the budget to allow for the year-round cleaning of vacant lots. So there have been significant investments last year, and we expect those to continue this year.
So, yes, you clean them, but the part I'm trying to say is like adding to the landscaping part, which is, gardening as well as other appeals to make sure that it looks like a welcoming community. So like flowers, signs, things of the sort that would help the curb appeal of the space, additional trees, that type of situation.
Yes, so the program also does include some tree planting. It also includes that hallmark white picket fence that you see to kind of delineate that this lot is in fact cleaned by the land care program, and it receives maintenance multiple times a month to keep debris off those lots.
Well, we have a couple of lots that haven't received in our own district, and I'm sure I've also driven by other people's districts in the city that probably could utilize some landscaping, not just cutting, but more like some actually planting the flowers as well as other signs, paint, all that and more around medians and so forth. I just don't know if you all are actively looking at those public properties or we have to tell you, because I think we know where all of the medians are that the city owns and the lots that the city owns, but I just don't know if you're actively working to do the curb appeal without someone telling you that, hey, we need flowers here and we need other things.
Yeah, there's a stabilization process in the fall and spring in which new lots are added to the inventory. We solicit input from a range of partners, but we'd be interested, if there are specific lots or areas that you'd like us to target, we'd certainly be open to hearing what they are, where they are. Also, we try and coordinate around specific initiatives, whether they're, if we're looking to combat crime or something like that, we might choose to focus on areas that have high crime, for instance.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. Is there a general timeline of when this takes place?
Yeah, so right now, we're gearing up, we're coordinating with PHS for the fall stabilization. So we're about 2 seasons behind, like, in a cyclical way.
Okay. Thank you, Chairwoman Best.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Rourke. Oh, not here, sorry. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kathy Gilmore Richardson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I wanted to just get a couple of additional questions on the record, specifically from your Department of Planning and Development detail. I'll start with, it's in Section 56, page 68, under Housing Development, Rental Assistance, Homeless. We have in the FY26 proposed budget, $108,000. And then under housing counseling, $3,392,000. Does that housing counseling line item include the housing counseling agencies that also work with the Tangle Title Fund? And then additionally, because I know we're in the second round, I want to get all of this here. But there's also under Section 56, page 81, under the homeless prevention program, $1 million includes an array of shelter diversion and homeless prevention activities. This includes emergency assistance when eviction or mortgage foreclosure is imminent. And finally, under Section 56, page 82, again for housing counseling, counseling services for low and moderate income residents facing mortgage foreclosure, tenant-landlord conflicts, and housing-related problems. Could you just detail those allocations for me?
Are we able to details? We can get that information.
Yeah.
Right now.
I'll go back. Okay.
And I'm just, so is that general fund only, or is that across all funding sources that you're looking at?
Right, so as an example, for page 68, it's under the Community Development Fund. For page 81, it's under Housing Trust. And then again, under 82, Housing Trust.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
I think it'd be important for us to put that all on one page for you so you see how that stacks together.
Okay, that'll be great, because really what I was concerned about was understanding the line items for the legal service and aid organizations and the housing counseling organizations, as well as the homelessness prevention, eviction diversion, and mortgage foreclosure assistance dollars in particular, because one of those line items, I think it was around the foreclosure prevention or housing counseling for families potentially facing homelessness has changed from the FY24 actual obligation is actually going down. That's in particular for shelter diversion and homelessness prevention when eviction and mortgage foreclosure is imminent.
We can get you that detail.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Just real quick, Jesse, and I'll do a follow-up and we'll go over it offline. And so that $50 million, right, that came from the MPI,
Yes.
that won't be a part of the $800 million
Not at all.
plan.
Not at all. Those are two separate
That $50
numbers.
million is already agreed upon to fund, I think it's 3 separate initiatives, which is the alleyways, driveways.
Prevention and preservation as well.
And prevention, because right now that basic system repair is eating up. Mr. Thomas over there is spending all our money, but doing a great job of rehabbing individual homes. And so just wanted to make sure there's a level of clarity regarding that particular $50 million.
Yeah, we certainly don't want to say that, that $50 million is baked into the $800 million. I think that we're understanding that there is something left, and there is a series of programs that we also would like to see going on.
Yes.
And if there's a thought about where those programs live now and where they'll live in the home plan, we want to be clear about that detail between the two.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But just want to be clear that 50 is already committed to 3 particular areas, which I'm already actually briefing my members on as we speak, based upon their priorities. And so maybe we'll talk offline and make sure we all on the same page about that particular.
That's fine. I didn't want to imply otherwise.
That's cool. No, we're on the same page.
Council President, if I may, John Monlack, Deputy Director of Planning Development. You had asked earlier about driveways. You just brought it up again, and I just wanted to, we could follow up with writing for sure, but I just wanted to put on the record that there have been 139 driveways completed.
Speak up a little louder. 139 driveways
139
completed.
driveways completed. We expect to complete 50 to 60 more, and there's been 720 trees addressed.
720? How many, 720?
Trees.
I see the gentleman from the 9th Councilman District in the Northwest like to be recognized regarding them driveways.
All right, thank you. Just really quickly, I just want to address a few things. I know it's very difficult. The driveway program is going well. People love it. However, the process could be stronger. And I just wanted to see if you can work with our MPI team to really strengthen the process. We need to have, as district council members, there has to be a level of a timeline. I know people are told immediately that they're qualified for the driveway if they're eligible, but they're said, weather permitting, this is what will happen. But if we can give them a better sense of like, by what month, by what time they should reach out again if they don't hear something.
Is that a point of information, Phillips? You asked another question.
Yes.
Or making a statement.
So the question is, are you all working on with the MPI team, strengthening the process to deliver the driveways as well as the other programs such as the alleyways and so forth, to make sure that process is a lot more transparent and clear to residents going forward as funding is still limited? Thank you.
Yeah. The answer to your question is yes, we are.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. I know you have a very strong interest with the Northwest regarding them driveways, but good job, sir. Appreciate that. We got driveways in South Philly too, though, Greg, in the Girard Estate area. They have them down in Girard Estate. That's a she neighborhood, though, but you know, it's all good. I support everybody. The chair recognizes Member Bass, then Dr. Nina Ahmad, then Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young, then Councilman Jamie Gautier.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, we have some driveways in the 8th District, too.
We got some driveways in the 8th District as well?
We got a couple.
Yeah,
We got
uptown.
a couple. So, question for you around Act 135, the conservatorship rule, law. And I noticed, I saw David Thomas over there in the cut. It looks like he's hiding. I don't know why. So I didn't know if it was his specialty, but I wanted to get a sense of Act 135 and the impact that it's had on funding for agencies, particularly PHTC and the like, and what has been the impact and what has been the cost to the city, because and maybe you could go through and further explain that once someone applies for a property through the Conservatorship Act, that there are debts and obligations that are required from the city if that transaction doesn't go through.
So we see Angel Rodriguez up here to pretty much answer that question in the depth that I think you're looking at.
Okay. So the two agencies that have been impacted by it are the Land Bank and the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority. The issue with the Act 135, and first I want to just note, really appreciative of the work that Councilmember Young is doing on this issue. I think it really does need to be raised and brought to the forefront. The problem with Act 135, with the changes that were done a couple of years ago, is that it doesn't require notice. So as soon as someone files a conservatorship, if you are the owner of that property, irrespective of whether you're an authority or a land bank, you are now in the legal process. You are now a defendant, and you then are subject to, at best, a settlement. So the question is the property blighted?
Who's entitled to the settlement?
The person who filed the petition.
The applicant.
So the petitioner it files it. Once you're in there, if you're the owner of that subject property, you then have to prove that it is not blighted or a blighting element. You then, and the question at hand for the judge is really, do they award a conservatorship, which entitles to the conservator to even more actually control of the company. They can rehab the property, sell it, and take a portion of the revenue from the sales. It's extremely problematic for chartered agencies like the Redevelopment Authority, which is chartered to eliminate blight throughout the city and follows a public process. It's subject to sunshine laws, as well as the land bank, which the city and the state have chartered to operate much on the same way. What this does, it circumvents the disposition process. And there is no public discourse. It then becomes a legal action. The impact to the agencies has been that we are now defending a situation. It's cost us, between the two agencies, close to $700,000. And this is not, budgeted funds, especially not for the land bank and definitely not for the redevelopment authority.
Over what period of time has that $700,000 cost been?
We started getting filings in earnest in 23 and through 24.
So the last couple of years?
Yeah, predominantly from one particular petitioner.
Who is that?
I believe it's PCPC.
Okay, interesting.
Wait, time out, excuse me. Let's go on the record on this one. Somebody sits on your board, goes after a City of Philadelphia parcel of property. Isn't that a conflict of interest? It's like the fox in the
Council President,
I'm trying to understand that.
The person in question was not on the land bank board or PRA.
Not the land bank board.
And not the Philadelphia
Be specific.
Redevelopment.
PHDC
is a 501c3. It is not a representative. While PHDC has an agreement with the land bank and with the PRA to provide staffing, PHDC does not control the land bank or the PRA.
Understood.
So
how are board members appointed to PHDC?
That's not, I couldn't tell you. That would be.
Chair.
Wait a minute, let's go back to PHDC.
Correct.
Okay, exactly what does PHDC do?
PHDC is a 501c3. It's in essence the city's nonprofit. A lot of the services and quality of life.
It's the city's nonprofit.
I would say so, yes.
Okay, so they are connected to the city.
Correct.
And so they dispose of property for the city, or they?
No, they do not.
They manage property.
No, they do not.
So tell me what they do for the city.
They manage all of the quality of life programming. They handle LIHTC financing, low-income housing tax credit financing. They do the adaptive modification program, basic systems repair program, shallow rent, RRR, I forget what that stands for. Restore, repair, renew. They work.
So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that they are very intricately involved in what happens in real estate in the city of Philadelphia and in other areas as well. But would you say that they are intricately involved in what happens, this nonprofit, in which there was a board chairman who, for PHDC, who sued for conservatorship or filed for conservatorship against the city of Philadelphia?
Correct.
Okay, sounds kind of weird to me. I'm just saying. I don't know if it's just me.
If you're asking me for a determination, I am not an
I'm not
IG,
asking you.
and therefore I can't speak
I think
to
people
that.
can, listen, the facts speak for themselves. So I'm not asking you to dive into that. Just very interesting. But so as the conservatorship has drained vital resources from you all.
Correct.
Even though, even with the board chairman who knows how difficult it is to get these resources, has the city of Philadelphia, has PRA, taken any legal action to try to figure out, in Commonwealth Court or wherever, to try to figure out how do we put, how do we stop the bleeding on this? Because as I understand it, it's becoming more and more popular to make a buck this way off of the city, and people can do it. It's a hustle.
So what I can tell you is that we have, this is a problem across the Commonwealth for other redevelopment authorities and land bank. I know personally that Pittsburgh has been really hurt badly about it. We have offered and testified to the Urban Affairs Committee at the state level about proposed amendments to the legislation. That was several years ago. That legislation has not come out of committee. So this is really a state issue to change the Act 135.
Understood. But is there any, I feel like we're kind of like sitting ducks, like we're not proactively looking at what proactively can we do to get out of the line of fire with this hustle that is taking resources, taking properties from people in our neighborhoods who really can't afford to fight back. If you file a conservatorship against a property in which, you've got, some little old lady who can't afford to fix up her property right now, but it's her property. And so the idea that someone can come in and she's got to defend herself against her, that property's gone. They basically have taken that property from her. And so what are we doing to proactively say, what can we do? Like, there's got to be something that we can do legally to start to get in front of this with the courts. If we can't get the legislature to do anything, how do we stop this from continuing to happen?
So I can't speak for the general public. I do appreciate the situation, having been involved with several lawsuits in this matter. I know for the agencies, we have done what we've been able to do. The unintended consequences for both the Land Bank and the Redevelopment Authority is that we've been assessing our structures, and if the structures are unsafe, we've moved towards demolishing them so that we can preclude any cases against conservatorship. It's highly unlikely to see conservatorship cases against vacant land. But that's also been an impact in what's going on with the inventory. I can only, I feel for private citizens that deal with that, but really that is something that I think the state legislature has to address.
Thank you, Member Bass. Go ahead.
One last question. Who appoints the PHDC chair?
The city of Philadelphia does.
Who in the city? I don't.
Well, the city of Philadelphia appoints members, but the chair is elected by those members.
But the members of the board,
Yes,
and the members of the board are selected by who?
by the city, by the administration.
By the administration.
And council.
And council as well.
Landau is our
So
representative.
Combination of the both, right?
We ratify, or we, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. We have appointee.
Yeah.
Rule Landau represents us on the PHDC board, and said chair member isn't chair member. He's not a member anymore.
Yes.
But it was still odd that a sitting chair will actually follow Act 135 while it's still part of a city supported with members appointed by the city. So, just wanted to put that out there, but that chair is no longer there, but still, we have to be mindful when we see these types of acts, because it doesn't look ethical to me, to be quite frank with you. So,
Mr. President, it feels like insider trading. And as we said before, if any one of us, this is something, it's just basically a hustle to steal property from poor people. That's what it is. And so we have to protect our people. We have to do more, we have to do better, and we have to be proactive about this, because otherwise it's just the hustle that's going to keep on going and until we basically push people out who are on the margins, who own property in the city. Thank you, Mr. President.
thank you. And I do want to just be fair and give a little reprieve. Angel, he does run the land bank. He is over top of the land. But with all due respect, the person that runs PHDC, who's over top of him that he has to report to, that we'll probably bring up next time when we have a significant amount of questions regarding PHDC, happens to be Dave Thomas. So just wanted to be fair in terms of us putting you on a hot spot, but at the end of the day, he reports to Dave, and so Dave, you will be joining us at some point in time as a follow-up regarding the process as we move forward. Just being fair in terms of how we're addressing this, but thank you for addressing it based upon your experience around Act 135, and I'm sure under the leadership of Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young and the special committee and the members who will be appointed, we'll do a deeper dive and work with our state partners to protect our most vulnerable people. And no matter what anybody says, I've seen it in my own area of Point Breeze, where again, folks will organize and strategize to go after properties that individuals have been owning for years, but as the neighborhood change, I may not have that same income as you to fix the property up in a timely manner as you, right? And then it's an assault on taking the property away from the individual. So it is something that I've seen with my own eyes as a practice. The chair recognizes Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young for a point of information.
Yes, sir. Just a point of information to Councilmember Bass's point on what we can do. So the city gets notified of every Act 135 petition that is filed. The redevelopment authority and or the land bank is considered a party of interest. And so if the city wanted to file a petition or a response in each and every Act 135 claim that is filed, so the city can try to at least become the conservator of those properties, the city has that right through the land bank or the redevelopment authority. So that is something that we can do now. We have the authority to do now under the Act 135 law.
Thank you very much. The chair recognizes Dr. Nina Mai, Councilman Jamie Gaultier.
Thank you, Council President. I have a quick question for Commerce about...
Excuse me 1 second, Dr. Mai. Point of information, Councilman Lozada.
Point of information, is there a way for each council person to receive a list of those properties that have been considered for conservatorship? Is there a way to find that information so that
Yes.
we can see if there's a pattern or if there's a specific entity that is targeting specific neighborhoods? Can we see that?
Yes.
Can you provide that information, Jesse,
We
to
can
the
provide
chair
that
and the members,
information
please?
on a council district basis.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilman Dr. Nina Mai.
Thank you, Council President. A quick question. What is the position of Commerce on the proliferation of unregulated skill games? It has been a deeply troubling issue, and I know my colleague, Councilmember Curtis Jones, has worked on it. And I just wanted to know, I know there's an appeal process going on to the ruling that was made, and I wondered where Commerce was on this.
I'm going to invite Deputy Commerce Director Fagley to join me and provide some insights on that question.
Thank you. Karen Fegley. Yeah, we're supporting the bill. We're trying to make sure that, businesses are informed and that it's being enacted. I'm sorry, I don't have a whole lot more to say on it. I know that nuisance businesses continue to be an issue, throughout our neighborhoods.
So the bill has not been challenged yet, the Philadelphia bill?
Okay, I'm sorry. I might be misspeaking.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to answer the question. I know there's been a few different bills and they are being looked at legally, so I don't want to
So
say
if
it
you could please
we can,
get
we
the
can
chair,
absolutely get back to you on that. It's an important issue.
your position, the status, and what we're doing. Because
Absolutely.
this is about safeguarding our communities. These are popping up everywhere, and
Yep.
there's no regulation whatsoever, unlike our casinos and others who have to follow
Right.
rules and regulations. So I would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
My next question is to Mr. Lawrence. A quick question about, I know we're all very excited about the home initiative, and I wanted to just go on the record to ask about the process for our zoning board. And I had brought this up to you in a meeting we had about streamlining the process and separating potentially projects that are, of a certain size as separate from smaller projects to expedite this, because this is a very ambitious goal. And I wanted to see what your thoughts were on that.
Well, we certainly want to look at the ability to eliminate choke points or time taxing that isn't necessary, but we also see value in, we see value in by right zoning. We see value in community input in the zoning code that triggers any ZBA process. But what we want to do here is make sure that we are issuing something that is historically longer to receive as far as like notices, decisions and stuff like that. We're working to shrink that time right now. I think that the next step would be figuring out what actually is worth going to zoning, what's not worth going to zoning. However, we don't want to jump too fast into making those types of determinations.
I appreciate that, but this has been an ongoing problem, not new. So I think we need to expedite how we're doing this in order for us to reach these ambitious goals, because this has been a question that has been ongoing for many councils. And so I just wanted to put it on the record that we need some action from your part to identify how this might be done and whether it needs legislative work or it can be done within the department. We would love to get an update from you as to what that process would look like and what is the timeline for that?
Thank you, Councilwoman. John Munlock, Deputy Director of Planning Development. You raised a very good point. We are very focused on, right now, 3 big areas related to Zoning Board of Adjustment. The time it takes to get in and get a hearing, the time it takes to get to that hearing, because we have a lot of continuances, and then the time it takes from that hearing to when you get your notice of decision, which is when you could actually do something with it. The significant delays are not primarily in the front end, but we're looking at the front end too, because we want to streamline that. And timeline, I would say that by the summer, we expect to be able to shrink a lot of those, or at least be in the middle one where you're waiting and you have continuances. I think is going to take a little bit of a culture shift about how we deal with continuances. But the notice of decisions, there's a mix of technology and there's a mix of labor that we're starting to sort through. And so I would say that by summertime, we expect to see changes in that. And if we don't have changes in the fall, then we should be talking somewhat regularly. But maybe in the fall, if we identify legislative fixes that might be helpful in that process, we would absolutely take you up on that offer to have those conversations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to say, housing is such a fundamental need in our city. Anything that we can do without obviously trampling on rights of people to understand the process is critical, because we're working with things like child separation in the Department of Human Services. Part of it is because there's lack of housing and families aren't able to cope with being a family because of that. So we have a lot of really troubling issues that are intersecting with the ZBA, even though the ZBA might not see that, but it does make a difference. So I would really appreciate anything you can do to expedite the process so we can get these housing units done.
Absolutely, Council. And we do have a new executive director that is hyper-focused on the data and how do we make those changes. So thank you.
And just want to recognize that, looking at ourselves, we have this executive order out, and it's tasking 26 different departments throughout the city to look at themselves as far as process refinement, and we're certainly one of them. I just want to be clear about that. The Department of Planning and Development is looking at itself in terms of process refinement.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to be wrapping up soon, but let me get these last individuals on the record. Councilwoman Jamie Gauthier, Councilman Jeffrey J. Young, and we will finish and wrap up with Majority Leader Richardson, then we will go into our break. We know we have Streets and Fleet for the afternoon session.
Thank you.
Public property, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council President. My questions are for Commerce. One interest of this body has been trying to find ways to support our extensive network of community development corporations, whom the city relies on to implement and promote many of its housing and economic development programs. Last week, I, with a majority of my colleagues, introduced and co-sponsored a bill to mandate that Commerce offer either an annual grant program or expand the CDC tax credit program to provide consistent operational support that isn't tied to a specific program or contract to CDCs. And just to give a bit more context, we're doing this because although the housing crisis is grave and although gentrification is growing, the support for CDCs CDCs, philanthropic and otherwise, has decreased greatly from a few decades ago. So what do you think of that idea, and is that something that Commerce would be willing to support? And then next, another big need for our CDCs is a quick strike acquisition fund. This would be money that is flexible and easily accessible for CDCs and small businesses who want to compete against for-profit speculators, of which there are many, to acquire property on neighborhood commercial corridors and in communities before it's too late and the fast-moving market takes over. So what do you think of that idea, and is that in the budget?
All right. Thanks, Councilwoman. To the first point, Karen Fegley, Deputy Commerce Director. To the first point, we strongly believe in the importance of CDCs. We rely on them. I mean, the city relies on these community organizations to really carry out work in our communities, as I know that district council members do too. And so we recognize also the need for operating dollars, right? It's really hard for nonprofits to just exist sort of like based on grants for specific projects. That said, we partner with the Revenue Department to administer the existing CDC tax credit program, that plus the CDC Economic Development Support Grant that is governed by the existing legislation. We provide operating funds to 47 CDCs on an annual basis at $100,000 a year. So it's really important. We feel really good about that, being able to get out to that many organizations. I just read your bill, and I know it asks for additional, to raise that level and also to raise the number of organizations, yes, and also increase the types of organizations that would qualify. And so it's something I think we'll be meeting with you about, and PACDC. I think we will pull in DPD because if it's really, it's going beyond economic development to organizations that do housing counseling and community organizing and so forth. So I think that's a little bit out of Commerce's realm. So we'll be talking about it.
We would love to talk more to you about that. I just want to note that although we love the existing tax credit program, that amount has not grown with inflation. It's been $100,000 for a really long time. And I think this new idea would pair greatly with what we're trying to do with housing.
Okay. And to your second question about acquisition, again, totally agree. This is an issue. One of the things Commerce is always trying to do is build community wealth, is to create tools and vehicles for locally owned businesses as well as community organizations to buy property, right? That gets to a lot of the discussions that have come up here today. We have a couple of programs doing that right now, our CREAL, Commercial Real Estate Acquisition Loan Fund, and our Neighborhood Economic Development Grants. They're not as fast as the market is, I get that, and so yes, we are looking at different ways. We are exploring something to use our Philadelphia Business Lending Network and sort of a combination with the Catalyst Fund to do something where we would be able to do something quicker. We're hoping in partnership with banks. That's a concept. I'd love to talk to you about it, but it's not ready to roll out yet.
We'd love to talk more. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Member Young, then Majority Leader Richardson.
Thank you. So I'm not going to belabor the Act 135 stuff. We're going to get to that at a future date. But I do have a question about the shallow rent program. And can you talk to us about, I guess, over the years, the decrease in that, in the shallow rent program and the future of that program and where those fundings will be coming from?
So as Mark Dodds, Deputy Director for DHCD, walks up, I do want to indicate that Shallow Rent intends to live in the home plan. We do plan on continuing and investing in that program, so we do see a lot of value in that. But Mark can talk more about the specifics when it comes to current funding.
Yeah, good afternoon. We heard a lot at a recent council hearing around the need for increased funding around shallow rent. We've also conducted a study in collaboration with PHDC that speaks to the benefits of the program. Historically, we funded it with Housing Trust Fund, I believe over the last 4 years or so. And, this is a program that seems to be working very well, and we look to support it with additional funding through the home bond.
So is this additional funds, or is it basically a reallocation from the traditional housing trust fund money, and now we're, instead of using housing trust fund, we're going to be using money that we have to pay interest on.
It would be in addition to the current Housing Trust Fund funding that supports the program.
And I guess we'll get into this at the home hearing or the housing hearing, essentially. I'm just looking at the numbers. It's about 2.6 million is allocated for FY, that was in FY '25. And I'm just trying to make sure that I think that program is something that needs to be increased, particularly, it helps, the users of that program are centered in North Philadelphia for the most part, rather than the 5th District, 7th, or the 8th. North Philly uses that program, so I just want to make sure that that's a program that, that the constituents know how to access that program, right? Because Housing Trust Fund is a fund that typically all these programs are ran out of, but with this new home initiatives, we just want to make sure it doesn't get caught up in the bureaucratic process and in the red tape of trying to access, money to allow folks to stay in their communities.
Noted, council member.
Thank you. Yeah, and Jesse, when the event that we get to the borrowing component and, we come to an agreement, we want to get this money out as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
And so as many hands as possible. And so I echo and I concur with Councilmember Young is saying, and I'm quite sure that's the administration's mission as well, to put as much money in people's hands to ramp up. Addressing the housing crisis here in the city of Philadelphia. Some folks say, well, it's not a housing crisis, it's an affordability crisis. I say we need to grow jobs, right? And also use the growing of the jobs to address the housing crisis. Because I know day in and day out, in my office upstairs in the 2nd Councilmanic District, and we're addressing the issue, I'm getting a text message from a young lady right now. Can I get a response back because I need housing, right?
Yeah.
A gentleman last week with his kids, I need housing, right? Yeah. And it's all spectrums. And so, but when you have the chance to have that house that's built new from the ground up and become that first-time home buyer, right, that also helps build generational wealth. And so we can do both, but we definitely have a housing crisis here in the city of Philadelphia. And so I state that for the record. I want to stand on that. With that being said, I'm going to let my majority leader, how you say a moment of privilege for the House. I'm going to acknowledge my majority leader to wrap us up.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. I knew there was some level of consternation and discomfort amongst the members, and so that was one option for that instance. So at any rate, thank you very, very much for this opportunity. I wanted to just go back to 2 things for commerce. First, I wanted to just notate for the record that for Section 20, page 3 of your detail, under the Department of Commerce, there's a one-time only workforce development line item under the general fund, class 200 for $10 million. So I just wanted to notate that if we could get a response there. And then secondly, you all know that we had a hearing that was attended by 10 members of City Council regarding these stores that we are dealing with around drug paraphernalia. And it's an issue that I know Councilmember Bass and both Councilmember Phillips have been continuing to work on. And it's an issue that I deeply care about and have introduced legislation and passed legislation on. But we are inundated with these stores selling nothing but drug paraphernalia and have worked closely with the nuisance business task force, with health and law and L&I, and with commerce. You all were out on the tours as well. But I wanted to talk about not only your interaction with the nuisance business task force, but the proliferation of these skilled game machines and how you all are thinking about what's next around that topic. We have grave concern around the drug paraphernalia stores, but now we know that also the skill games conversation is continuing at the Commonwealth level. You know, there was a memo sent out by top Senate leadership in the Commonwealth on the Republican side of the House regarding the taxation of skill games and how that will relate to increased funding for a number of line items for cities and towns across the Commonwealth. So if you could just speak to the drug paraphernalia issue and the skill games issue.
Well, thank you for the question. I'll invite any of my colleagues from Commerce that want to join me to speak about it from a, legislative perspective. But I will speak to it from how we think about, what I'll say is a business that is additive and a business that is subtractive, right? And so the Commerce Department is committed to helping any business that wants to grow to do so. However, there are some businesses that are extracting value from neighborhoods. And so in that context, our commitment is to work very actively with L&I. We have a very, very close partnership with L&I, boots on the ground, as well as with the police department to go after any business that crosses a line where we believe, frankly, they don't deserve to be doing business in the city of Philadelphia. So when it comes to, action, boots on the ground in partnership with L&I, Commerce is working hand in hand to solve problems because we do get complaints from other businesses and we get complaints from residents about businesses. And so, so I'll mention that. And Karen, not sure if you want to speak to it from a more legislative perspective.
Sure, I'll jump in. Karen Fegley, actually, and thank you, Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson. You sort of helped correct my last answer to Councilwoman Ahmad about that the state, I was notified, the state did, the skilled games bill was overturned by the Commonwealth Court, but the state is considering regulating it and taxing it, as you've spoken to, and so I think that's something we need to pay attention to. As Director Martinez said, we do work closely with our partners on the ground, the corridor managers, our own staff, and other city departments. There's a nuisance business committee. Our Mayor's Business Action Team goes out for sort of the education sweeps along with the L&I quality of life. And we really, I feel like one of our strongest tools is thanks to this council with the nuisance business law that allows the police in coordination with all those partners to kind of, to give these notice. It really lets a business, because some of these businesses are victims of their location and they do, right? So it gives them an opportunity to try to do the right thing, but when they don't do the right thing, we can shut them down. And so I think that's something that, we're really happy that the police are working on and we're supporting.
Do you want to talk about the meeting we just had with L&I about data and analytics?
You can.
So a project that we are discussing with the Commissioner of L&I is the utilization of data and analytics in targeting businesses more efficiently. I think there is an opportunity for us to organize data in a way that allows us to pinpoint where the hottest issues are. And so in addition to working together and leveraging information that comes to us through the traditional channels, I do believe that there's an opportunity for us to be smarter, and I mean to use data in a smarter way to target businesses proactively. And so I'm really hopeful that Commerce will continue that conversation with L&I, and Commerce is willing to invest resources in a consultant to make that happen because it is a growth generator, right? By getting rid of businesses that are destructive, we actually help other businesses right on that corridor grow. So we're prepared to continue that conversation and invest in using data in a smarter manner.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And I look forward to working with you all on the package of bills that we're preparing as a result of that hearing. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
And thank you. As we wrap up, I just want to follow up on Majority Leader Richardson's statement, as well as Councilman Dr. Nina Ahmad, and especially Cindy Bass. We want to be partners in this mission, and I hope that my advocates who are advocating will be partners with us to really go after the bad actors who I believe are preying on black and brown communities. These are individuals that sell death and destruction to our communities, and folks sit back, with a blind eye, while at the end of the day, you got smoke shops, you got people buying crack smoke pipes, you got fake guns where one young man was just shot inside my neighborhood for carrying a fake gun by a police officer. And so we want to be partners with you along those efforts, and hopefully those who advocate for social justice will participate in going after the bad actors that prey on our communities. So I just want to just say that.
Thank you, yes. I mean,
So we'll want to partner with you.
we're 100% aligned.
But we won't see you anymore, and so we'll see you in another capacity. But could we give Commissioner Albert Martinez a round of applause, please? We thank you for your advocacy. We thank you for your work.
Thank you, thank you. You will see me. Philadelphia and serving Philadelphia is a passion regardless of the seat. So I'm very honored to serve, and thank you, all of you, for your extraordinary leadership. Very proud to be a Philadelphian.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Want to give a special shout out to Dawn Somerville as well. Helped me with my Keystone zoning work that we've been doing throughout this councilman district. And so thank you to Commerce Department. Thank you for planning, Jesse, and you and your team for being here as well. We will recess until 2:15.